ready, set, go.
Back to episode 18 of Remote Play Gaming Podcast. RPGP crew here. -1 today. No Curtis, but we've got myself, Mark. We got Evan over there. And I just want to shout out this is not an Xbox. This is not an Xbox. This is an Xbox. How are you doing, Evan? You got any Xboxes over there?
Oh man, I left it on my Zelda dock, right? I can play Xbox games on that, right? I've got one that Valve made, right?
Yeah.
I've got and there's this new pro version of a console that came out that I think that is that an Xbox?
It might be based on the things Phil Spencer's saying. So before we get into it, just want to say if you like what we do here, make sure you hit a like and a subscribe on this and check out our other content as well. And without further ado, maybe we'll dive in further. So what do you want to talk about first today, Evan?
Oh, that's a good question. We could talk about what we've been playing, or yeah, let's go ahead and just talk about what we've been playing, right?
We'll make them wait. We'll make them wait for the
And
Xbox. That's good. I like it.
I do want to point out that Curtis, after last episode, said he won't be joining us for a while. Is that what?
Yeah. I don't know if it was the content of the episode or if he has life things going on, but he'll probably say the content of the episode.
Oh yeah. We had a nice couple hours at Nintendo with ATB, so that was a Nintendo takeover for me. You gave me the reins. You guys gave me the reins for a week, and I brought on a Nintendo guest, so that was a lot of fun. We'll probably link that to the end of this episode too, right? But so we'll go ahead. Yeah, let's talk about what we've been playing. We'll get into what else is an Xbox, right? So and then maybe some Game of the Year nominee predictions.
I like that. You wanna go first? Or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen over to you. So you've got the range there.
All right, here we go.
So I speaking of Nintendo and Xbox, I have been playing Banjo-Kazooie. I've never played Banjo-Kazooie. There's one major platform I played on, a 3D platform I played on the N64, and it's not Super Mario 64, and it was not Banjo-Kazooie. It was DK64. It was I think it's been due time. I did play some Super Mario 64 when the collection came out, the 3D All Stars collection came out for a brief period for whatever reason. Nintendo doing Nintendo things. But I did jump into that, and after playing Mario Odyssey, like I could see what would have been so magical with Super Mario 64 30 years ago, or almost 30 years ago at this point.
Ew.
But yeah, how's that feel?
Terrible.
To me it was just a very outdated Super Mario Odyssey, which really just speaks more to Super Mario Odyssey. I think you could definitely see that in it, and it really talks to the legacy that Super Mario 64 created. And I adored Super Mario Odyssey, so it was and Mario 64 was still good, but I just coming off of Odyssey, it was hard for me to I put several hours into it, but I think if I jump back into 3D All Stars, it'll probably be to go to Galaxy, because I've never played either of the Galaxy games either. So, but Banjo-Kazooie is the one I have been playing, and controls are a bit wonky, but I've been playing on Rare Replay on Xbox. So I think if I beat this, I'll probably move to I have the NSO N64 controllers, and I will probably try Banjo-Tooie on the N64 controller to play it as it was originally designed. To see if that's better, right? As wonky as the N64 controller is, the games were made for that controller, right?
Right.
It is nice having the twin stick controls, and I'm sure that's just like the C buttons on the N64. But it's like swimming. Swimming is absolute doo-doo. But but the game, the platforming is fun. I'm playing this with my kids, like they're watching me and just like they're having a blast, right? And I'm just like, golly, if if Xbox is looking for something for growth, right? They're like, oh, we need to grow, but oh, like everybody's on the platform of choice. You know who's not on the platform of choice? My kids. They don't have a platform of choice, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like Xbox. It's like you've got Banjo, you've got Spyro, you've got Crash, you've got all AstroBot, and PlayStation just came out. Whatever, one of the two CEOs of PlayStation, right, just came out with saying that AstroBot wasn't supposed to be this massive big hit seller. It wasn't for the God of War players. It wasn't for the Last of Us players. It was for the new players that weren't into those franchises, right?
Mm-hmm.
Phil, it's right there. You've got so much IP that is just built for the new generation to pull them in, right? And now
Yeah,
that everything is an Xbox, they can play it anywhere. It's just like we're gonna be start playing Xbox on our fridges, right?
I hope
But
so. How do you like
yeah,
the collectathon in this? Is that
so
good for you, or are you
I
more
love
into the platforming?
DK64. So
Oh
I
yeah,
love
that's good. Yeah.
DK64, and that's quite a collectible. It's a pretty again probably outdated, but I ripped through 80% of that game in a night when we were in college. So, 10 years ago or whatever.
Hmm.
So, even at that point, right, it was very like, it was, I don't know if outdated is the right word, but it was an old game. Controls have been, and it's like I hopped on an N64 and played 10 hours straight of DK64
Hmm.
because I was just hooked, right? So the collectathon stuff, I actually enjoy, and this is had me looking at ukulele, and ukulele is $4 on Steam right now.
Hmm.
Uh, which is made by Platonic, which was that old that
That
legacy
offshoot of it.
rare
Yeah. Yep.
that created Banjo, that created the DKC games, right? The Donkey Kong Country games, and but yeah, no. So the collectathon is pretty fun. I like searching for that stuff. That so like I like platforming, as you said, like difficult
Yeah.
platforming. Collectathon is exploration for me, right? It rewards
Yeah.
exploration,
That's a good point. Yeah, it is.
and
And we know
so
you're into that.
oh yeah, yeah. So it's really a good combo for me. It's funny. I've tried the Donkey Kong Country games a few times. I don't really like like I'm very specific in what I like out of I think my 2D platformers, and it's like I want very difficult platforming, and I want it to be pretty um
Tight and
I want it to
precise.
be tight, yeah, tight, precise, challenging, but like not super punishing. Although I also jumped back into Hollow Knight recently, and it's like
Mm.
that's not as punishing maybe as some Souls games, but it is like the fact that you have to there's some checkpoints that are not very forgiving, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I have to go through all of this spot to get all these like challenging things to get back to this little mini boss, and it's like, dude, I just want to get back to the boss. But otherwise, I mean, I adore Hollow Knight, so
Yeah.
it's like, but I guess I just see past that stuff for the rest of it, and that's got pretty good platforming. But Celeste is for a long time been
Hmm.
one of my favorite indies. Before that, it was Super Meat Boy, right? So, but that the Super Meat
So
Boy Celeste precision platformer is my 2D platformer. So the Donkey Kong Country games, honestly, like the Mario games, the only Super Mario Brothers game, 2D Super Mario Brothers game I've beaten is the original Super Mario Brothers.
yeah.
And I've tried, like Yoshi's Story. I've tried Super Mario Brothers 3. Oh, you know what? I did beat Super Mario Brothers 2. It was like a 3-hour game, right? Or Super Mario
Some
Land
people
2
don't
or
count
something.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I beat it. The only reason I beat it is because I could beat it in a couple hours. There's no way I was sticking around for even 5,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8 hours in that game.
It's a little brutal, yeah. So
But
I think the collectathon's great for the kids too. So,
yeah,
any of our listeners are kids, chime in the comments. But when I do that stuff with my kids, it's exciting for them because it's very simple concept, right? Like you play the game, and if it's designed well, the collecting leads you. I mean, you go offshoot a little bit, but the collecting leads you through the level, and then you can find like little secrets. And they love the idea of, oh, I found something, secret, and oh, it's cool. I found it, and yeah, my kids really enjoy that, and I would imagine most kids do. So it's a good game to play with the family.
yeah, right. And and it's just like even like just like the themes and everything. And let's see if I can get and it's a straightforward gameplay loop.
Man,
Um,
this the screenshot you got, this is not how I remember the game looking. I remember
yeah,
it looking crisp 4K.
right, right. Yeah. No, this is Honestly, this is probably how it looks. I'm wondering if it looks this good on N64. I'll have to check it out. But
Mhm.
like it is interesting. Like Banjo looks like this like HD sprite a little bit, like kind of
Mhm.
uh on top of what I'm showing you right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the world.
and it's a little like I don't know. It looks like a I don't know a pseudo remaster, right? Like it's like, oh, let's try to just bump the resolution and make it a little bit cleaner, and it's you can kind of tell it has that look, right? It wasn't really
Yeah.
like done from the ground up kind of thing. But but yeah, I mean, I feel like if anybody, like Xbox is trying to reach everybody, and it's just like I don't know. To me, there's a new generation right there, and you've got plenty of franchises that could bring the new generation into Xbox. Right? They don't have this built up library, and honestly, like think about Game Pass. Right? All right,
Mhm.
Game Pass at $20 a month is a lot for me to spend as one person who's mostly a Nintendo kid who that for just for me to play. But like as
Yeah.
my kids get older, if $20 a month gives me like I can get my Halo, I can get my Fable, I can get my Perfect Dark, right? And then my
Mhm.
kids can get a new Banjo game, a new Spyro, and
Mhm.
and there's games for them to play. Now it's
Yeah.
like, oh, $20 a month for 4 or 5 of us in the house.
Yeah, you're
That
getting
makes a
4 to
lot more
5
sense.
uses out of it, right? It's like $5 a person or whatever at that point, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And so now I feel a lot more drawn to the value there is a lot higher for me. Out of
Yeah.
what Game Pass offers. When I can and they have some games, but man, they've got the first party stuff right there that they could have.
Yeah.
It's like Paw Patrol will only get my kids so far,
And the
and I
controls
think
on these games are terrible, right? Like, you and I have both done this with our kids. You go, "Oh, I wanna play the Paw Patrol game or the SpongeBob," whatever it is, Bluey, for example. It's like, you load it up and
right,
it's like, "Wow, this is horribly designed." It's difficult even for an adult to control. I could see why it would be frustrating for a kid. Like, to your point, you bring in Spyro, Banjo, and some of these other franchises, and you make a well-designed game. It doesn't have to be an amazing 50-hour adventure. 10-hour collectathon, well designed, tight, maybe some replayable things in it. I mean, I
right,
think that would be great.
yeah, yep. But all right. So other do we want to bounce back and forth on what we've been playing here? Or
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
all right.
So
Yeah.
if
So wait.
oh,
This is a remote play first. Mark, what
okay.
have you been playing?
I do never get asked, so that's true. Um, I'll go with my first one. I'm gonna hide yours and pull mine up.
Sure.
Metaphor Refantasio. I love this game now. It's really good. Um, the stories pulling me in more and more. As you play through this game, you get more abilities, more powers, like any RPG and JRPG, right? But I think the powers are pretty unique. You can inherit skills from the other classes, so it really allows some customization. Where normally in games like this, I get a little bit. I get worried that I'm picking the wrong thing. I don't know if you do that in like RPGs. You're like, ooh, is this the skill I want to spend my points on? If I get locked into being the archer or whatever, the wizard.
That probably contributes to what takes me like twice as long to beat a game, or especially these decision based RPGs where you're like
Mhm.
I'm just like I'll sit there and I'm like like I can get through a character creation scene phase or whatever of a game in 30 seconds, but like when it's like um yeah, I stress so much over. I get a lot of anxiety over like what do I want to be, because this is it, and it's like I do like so a lot of there's more and more games that are coming, which arguably is like takes away from the immersion or whatever, but that allow you to just respec, right, and like
Mhm.
reclassify stuff. Like you got a lot more flexibility, but it helps me move forward. I'm like, okay, I know I can just change this going like in the future.
Yeah, yeah,
It takes a little bit of that paralysis away from me, but
yeah. The analysis paralysis for
yeah.
sure.
which, as
Um,
somebody that's played board games with me knows that I
yeah,
struggle with a
the
little
AP is strong with this one.
bit.
Um, Yeah, so you can inherit you could change the class at any time, right? But like for example, the main character is the one with the blue hair. You start out as like the seeker class, and you can learn the other classes and wholesale change them, but it costs like magla points, which is like the magic points of the game or the mana. Um, so you can change, but also if you unlock the other classes for that character, you can inherit the skills. So I could say like, all right, I'm going to be the seeker guy, or I'm going to be the warrior, but I also want a healing skill, like, and I don't want to give that up, right? I don't want to go full healer, and you can essentially purchase with in-game points and experience those skills and slot them into your guys. So I just think that's a pretty cool system. The gameplay loop once you get going is pretty tight. I mean, it takes like maybe a couple hours. In my opinion, to really fall into it, to get the story going, to get the loop going to what's going on with the party. And it goes through like this. Well, this is typical, I think, for Atlas games, but we talked about a couple episodes before. I haven't played a lot of those, so there's like a calendar-based system and time
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But it's a day-night cycle, so everything you do is like you can run around, talk to people, buy stuff from the shop, upgrade your gear, level up. But then if you want to actually do anything meaningful, it's like, okay, this is going to take the whole daytime. Then you go to the
Right, right.
nighttime and there's less stuff you can do, right? And the traveling sometimes takes a day. Doing a dungeon will take an entire day and night. So you have to balance out what you're going to do, and that opens up more as you get further in the game. So I just got to a point, I think early on, it's like, hey, this big event's going to happen in 3 days. Go do whatever you want for 3 days, and that was kind of like daunting at first. And I think maybe it's because it's only the 3 days, but that's them trying to teach you in baby
Mhm.
steps. And then later on, I just got to a point. It's like, okay, you've got 12 days. Go do whatever you want. And I think that freedom of the 12 days put less pressure on me. Um, you know, like I had to do exactly the right thing. So I don't know if this game would be for you with the time constraints.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've played a little bit of Persona 3, so I'm a little bit familiar with that. Like, all right, you got to do this, and I do get a little bit of decision analysis paralysis or decision paralysis there. Um, I do like though, like what it offers. I think it's called the Tartarus in Persona 3, and I think it's
Mm,
something similar. It might be. I don't know if that's exactly the name in the others. I played a little bit of P5 as well, but
mm,
I don't really
mhm.
remember much from it. But yeah, uh, um, I I don't think this is the game that is built for me, but I think there's a
Mhm,
lot for me to enjoy there. I do
mhm.
like, I do like a good JRPG. This goes in a different direction than from necessarily what I like in JRPGs, but these games are so well made, and there is like, I do like just kind of existing in the worlds that Atlas has created. And actually, Persona 5 Royal, we were just talking about this before the show and on the Discord the last couple days, but like at GameStop was like $15 for to have on the Switch, which is like to me, I'm like that's where I want these games is like some on a
Yeah.
handheld or really a hybrid because like I do like playing on the big screen, but I like being able to just have it in handheld as well. Uh, but I passed on it because like I don't know 130 hours and I'm already started Persona 3. But really, I think the big reason I passed on this is like if I'm gonna jump into one of these games, Metaphor seems to be more the one that I want to jump into. That setting seems a lot more is a lot more appealing to me. Um, in the high
64
school,
hours, by the way. You keep going, but 64 hours for
so
this game, supposedly.
okay, so 130 for me, right? But
Yeah.
uh, maybe, but that sounds. I'd be curious to see. We've definitely got some Atlas game fans, a couple on our Discord, right? I've stayed out of the metaphor spoilers thread that we have on our Discord, but there that thing is blown. It's always blown up. It's always like there's
Mhm.
always messages and stuff, new posts and stuff, or new comments and stuff on that. So
Imma be
um,
posting in it tonight after we get out of this because I just did,
I,
like, several dungeons and boss fights, so
oh, nice. But yeah, no, I do like it. I kind of like so Dungeons of Hinterberg actually is a very it's built a lot of the same way, right? Like I've heard it compared to like it's like Zelda meets Atlas games. Um
yeah.
and um and I was enjoying that, and I'll probably jump back into that. That's going to be a more snack sized game
Mhm.
compared to this. Uh yeah, I I think it's okay because like I and maybe this is a new phase that I've gone into where like I don't need to like I'm like, all right, this is gonna be a long game. I'm just gonna play this game. I'm not gonna think too much about it. So
Mhm.
maybe I'm trying to like overcome that analysis
Yeah.
paralysis and these Atlas games have helped me like just accept that like whatever the way that they deliver those options just like this is what I'm gonna do and a part of it is like maybe like it's things that I've seen like all right I know what I'm gonna optimize for, those are the decisions I'm gonna make like in
Yeah.
Persona 3 there was like all right you do this thing, you make some money, you develop these two character trait like it's like you can work on these coffee shops, and I was like I'm just gonna work in this coffee shop every time I can because I can make it like pursues these three stats, and I was like I don't know maybe it doesn't pursue them the most compared to like some other opportunities, but it's like those are the three things I want money, I want charisma, and I want
Mhm.
whatever whatever those because it's like is does metaphor have like the chart of like your
Your
personality
skills. Yeah,
yeah
basically.
yeah
In this one, it's, you're essentially this is not a spoiler. You're, like, trying to become the king essentially, or there's gonna be a leader of the in-game world, at least so that's the story at the beginning, and then you have a crown, it's like a 5-point crown, and those are the things. It's like, the ability to speak, like, chari they're labeled differently, but it's like charisma, intelligence, those types of things, and as you do the slice of life stuff that you're alluding to in the other games, those points of the crown increase.
okay yeah yeah so that's kind of like it sounds like pretty similar to what it's in Persona 3, and I'm sure it is right
Yeah.
so um yeah I don't know I think if I'm gonna I might return back to Persona 3. I got 12, 13, 14 hours into it, and I was
Mhm.
enjoying it and it's there, it's installed on my Xbox, it's on Game Pass, so it's like I don't really have a reason not to, other than just the amount of time whether I want to or not
Right,
um
right.
and but
I do have to warn you, in this game, I did play a mission as part of a dungeon that, had a timer on it, like legit
oh god
timer. Yeah, it put it up in the corner, and I'm like, "Oh, this is different." So I felt that I was rushing through, and there was like,
I'm out.
there was like branching paths of like, "Ooh, if we go left, there's a bunch of guys. If we go right, it looks less dangerous, but maybe there's traps and there's more treasure there or whatever." And so I'm like, "Okay, 15 minutes. I'm gonna run through this pretty quick." And I literally thought of you. I'm like, "Oh, he would hate this."
I
Um,
I I hate that so much.
so I'm going, right, and I get in a fight. I'm like, "Alright, cool, we'll do my turn-based fight, timer will pause, finish the fight, pop out." Nope,
Oh,
timer's rolling through the turn-based fight. I'm like, "Ooh." So that definitely upped the blood pressure a little bit. I was like, "Ooh, ooh,
oh my
gotta
gosh.
gotta move, gotta move."
That alone, honestly, probably just that I'm out. I that is probably my least favorite type of thing to see in a video game. Like if
Yeah,
I just want to see like the developers created this beautiful world, right? And that's probably
yeah,
also like something that like why roguelites and roguelikes are like I'll play some, I enjoy some, but like part of what I don't get what I'm looking for is that I can't like explore a handcrafted world, like something that's
mhm.
been handcrafted by the developer. I can't.
Yeah,
That's
can't
where
get immersed in that, right?
right, and that's how I connect with like a game and what the developer was creating is like really the world that they've created, and so it's like I want to explore every single inch, and if I can't do that, like and like you said, like the timer's going while you're in battle, no thanks, no thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
I let me ask you this too before we move on to your next game. So in this game, there is such if you hit like the menu button or whatever on the Xbox, it pulls up um, what the other players in the world, like real players, have done in their game, the decisions they made on that given day. So it'll be like 33% did this type of activity, and it'll list the things they did, and 10% went and battled, 5% went and slept, 20% went and did a dungeon, and then it even does like a little bullet list of the in those categories to be like talked with so and so, fought with so and so, but sometimes it'll put talked with question marks or like trained with question marks. So you're like, ooh, like they're doing something I don't know how to do. So then I'm like, well, how do I do that? Like now I need to go explore. So I just thought that was interesting. I didn't know if they did that in the
yeah,
other Atlas games.
I I don't remember. That might be there.
Mhm.
Um, That sounds actually kind of familiar, and I'm not
Oh,
sure if I'm
one
not
of the
sure.
people will let us know in the Discord for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we've got
Or
a couple people in the Discord that have played a lot of these Atlas games, right? They spent a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
hours in these Atlas games. Shout out to Super Beef and Funk there. But so if you're into these Atlas games, come, well, you can leave comments too on the
Yep.
video, but the Discord, there's some great conversation of some pretty big Atlas fans at this point.
Yeah, I just thought that was kind of an interesting feature, and I know it's not groundbreaking, but there's things like
I
you
would
know, I,
like that. Like, yeah, for sure. Like,
yeah, like
go ahead.
go ahead. No, no, you're fine.
I would say that, like, now I'm trying to remember. Like I said, it sounds that sounds familiar to me, and I can't remember if it was in Persona or 3 or not. But um, that that sounds like something that, like, I would just kind of like enjoy. Just I like numbers, right? I like data. I like, I think both of us are into that in our own ways or whatever. We like seeing
Yeah.
those numbers, what that data is like.
Yep. Yeah, and last quick thought on it is like I'll be like 12 hours into the game and I'll see talked with um I don't know, so and so or trained with so and so. And then like 20 hours and I meet that person or something. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, how did they do that? Before what were the decisions they made that I didn't that were
Mm.
allowed them to do that? So I don't know, just interesting stuff. So let's jump over to your next game. I'm gonna pop mine off and pop yours on. And I see a preview here, so I'm going to close one of my tabs because I know it's the same.
Yep.
Uh, ooh, Call of Duty
So
Black Ops 6.
Yeah. So I knew you were gonna be talking about this, and I was kind of like, I was like, oh, should I wait for you to talk about it, and then just like, I've never played a Call of Duty campaign ever.
Okay. Yeah.
Um and I haven't played um an hour of Call of Duty since Black Ops 2.
Mm,
And maybe some Modern Warfare 3. I can't remember which one came out first. I don't know. But I was all about the wager matches, one in the chamber, sticks and
mm,
stones.
hmm
I honestly, I still don't know if those are there because I haven't touched the multiplayer. I don't even have the multiplayer installed. But hearing some things about this is like the best Call of Duty campaign in a long time, and it just kind of felt
hmm
like it would scratch an itch for me. And I was like, you know what? It's on Game Pass. It's the big thing, and it's um I like the argument of like Call of Duty bolstering Game Pass, or lifting Game Pass up, and like what. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna use my whatever, my voice to
Yeah,
tell
your
my Xbox
power.
no. Yeah, right. um and So I jumped into the campaign on this, and I played like basically the tutorial missions there that get you to the hub.
Yep.
And have you touched the campaign first off?
Yeah, I played the first three missions.
Okay. So I got to the little, like, Russian
Your
safe house.
base or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I'm giving spoilers or not, but it's pretty early on. But and then I just spent like 2 hours just exploring the the safe house.
That is so on brand. And they're looking at the data back at Microsoft and they're like, what is this one guy doing? He's just
Right.
look at this anomaly. He's just
Well,
exploring the
right.
house. He's not playing the game. I don't understand.
If they have, so I mean, my Switch is an Xbox, so they can see that I've played Gone Home, and Edith Finch, and then I on Xbox I've played Botany Manor. And actually, so Botany Manor is a lot of what I was thinking about navigating this, like the safe house,
Mm,
that mixed with like some Gone Home. And that's what I was getting out of this. And there's like little like secrets and stuff to unlock in the safe house, and like this pretty cool we'll give Mark a second here. And um but anyway, um I got a lot out of just exploring that safe house, and and the secrets that it has. And uh sorry, I got thrown off. I saw you had to step away there. It's
yeah, it's like 11:30 at night here, and I had a kid wake up, so you know how that
Oh
goes.
yeah,
I was
you
like,
got
"Yeah,
duty
parent."
calls, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's right. I was like, "The
the
bed
Call of
is
Duty,
that
right?
way."
Yep.
Yes. Just,
The Call of Dad duty. But yeah, so I was just saying that, like I like the little like secrets to unlock or whatever, and things that like there's like little interactive actions that you can do with like
Mhm.
um like building up the safe house back to like like fixing things in it, but also like discovery. And that discovery, is like I said, is very on brand for me. It has that there, and I was like, oh yeah, of course I'm gonna go like try to uncover these secrets and stuff that this thing has to offer. And I haven't started another mission yet, so I haven't even gone to the first mission on the bulletin board.
Oh, man. And,
But I will.
at least, like, you're appreciating the work of some, artist over at Microsoft Activision that's like, and I don't know if it's Sledgehammer that did this, but they're like, "I worked for hours on this bulletin board and this staircase and this" whatever it is,
Right,
and,
right,
you're the
right.
one guy exploring that and taking it all in, so
Yeah, it's no, it's cool. I mean, the gunplay feels great, for the first mission that I played.
Yep,
You can kind of expect a polished gameplay, I think, from at this point at Call of Duty, right? It's
yep,
well, I guess I would say, oh, they've been doing this for a long time, but I mean, I guess EA has been doing Madden for a long time. 2K has been doing NBA 2K for a long time, and it's arguable. You could debate whether or not the play is polished and clean and tight, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was one I've been playing. Yeah, like I said, you've been playing it too. So you want to talk about what you've been doing in Call of Duty?
Yeah, sure. So I refuse to install Warzone because I just I'm not into what Warzone has become, even though I like the battle
Yeah.
royale stuff. And the people I play with don't really like Warzone. So I played the first three missions of the campaign. That was awesome. Set pieces and stuff are good so far. I think it's gonna the little safe house hub thing's cool. I'm interested in the story. It's kind of that 90s, starts off like Storm, and goes from there. So we'll see how the story is, as I get more time to play that. Um, then multiplayer, I've been playing the multiplayer. I haven't touched zombies yet, but I do have it installed. But the multiplayer is pretty fun. I don't play core. I think I hopped on and played core with my brother and his buddies the other day. I was like, nah, I can't do this. I can't do the we're gonna shoot 100 times for you to potentially go down, and you have a different gun than me that's better because you're leveled up and you're gonna, mow me. So I'm all about hardcore, domination, team deathmatch, kill confirmed. There are a
Mm,
couple other modes that were interesting. 24/7 Nuketown is going on at the moment, and played that a little bit, but that was brutal with like you can wall bang people, so the bullets go through like fences and stuff like that, and feels like everything's paper thin in that level. So it's
mm.
just like people are just shooting, shooting, shooting. You're getting mowed down. So it's a little too chaotic for me. But I really like this level that's in the picture here, with the dude with the video store. It's like a strip mall, so you can go out in
Okay.
the streets, and there's like a KFC across the street, or then there's like the video store and like a Chinese restaurant and stuff. It's good. I think the gameplay is good. Seems fun so far. I haven't played it's been like 2 or 3 Call of Duties, since I played the original Modern Warfare remake that they came out with in, like, 2018, 2019 or something.
The original remake.
Yeah, yeah, so that's the last one I played. Yeah, it gets confusing. Um,
Right, right.
so that's the last one I played, but, yeah, I think it's good. It's good for Xbox brand so far. I think Call of Duty fans are mostly happy from what I hear. And you see that
Yeah.
guy that, was playing zombies, and he was, like, trying to do, like, some world record run or something. He was 174 rounds in and forgot to save, and he closed his game. Yeah, dude.
Oh no.
Brutal. Brutal. I don't
Yeah,
remember
it's
the
rough.
name of the streamer, but, yeah, it's good. Everybody should check it out, I think, if, they like shooters.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you have Game Pass, right? It's almost
Yeah,
a
why not?
no-brainer.
It's a
But
no-brainer, and,
and
it's got a mode for everybody, right?
yeah.
Between zombies multiplayer and, single player and the Warzone, so
Yeah, and we kind of touched on it, but like you can install it piece by piece, right? Like the whole
yep.
package, right? Installing Warzone, installing all this other stuff that's like 300 gigs, but like you can install it piece by piece. I think it takes like 70 some gigs on my Xbox for it to have the campaign.
Mhm.
You have to, yeah, it's like a base download, and then for Call of Duty 6 or Black Ops 6, um, and then there's like you can download the campaign, which is like a few dozen gigs or whatever, like 30 40 gigs or whatever, or you can download the multiplayer, which is another, I don't 25 30 gigs or whatever it is, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you what, my wife boomed me on this, man. I was all hyped up to play with my brother, JP. Um, and we had a time set yesterday, and I go to get on and it needed to be updated. I'm like, oh, it did not auto update. And it was
Oh,
like 67 gigabyte. And Tigress in the Discord, my wife, she goes, "Oh, it did put up a notification about updating, but I just got rid of it, and I forgot to tell you." I'm like, "Oh,
oh my
you
gosh.
can't." I'm like, "I love you, but right now, ah!" Uh,
So
Terrible.
I will say I was gonna start out like my with a little like I don't know joke or whatever about my experience with Call of Duty here. I spent the first hour trying to get past the account creation screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like I had because I haven't played Call of Duty in a decade.
Mm,
And
mhm.
and the last time I played, I think I was playing as a guest account on Black Ops 2 on my
You had to,
roommate's
like, submit a piece
PS4,
of paper in the mail
PS3.
to get your account made?
Right, so, yeah, I mean, that's what it felt like, right? So I'm trying to create account so first off, I'm trying to create this account on Xbox,
Yeah.
so I'm typing with a keyboard on the Xbox controller, right? Like a digital keyboard on the Xbox controller. Terrible experience. And I'm like, "Do I have an account?" Because, like, I think I like, we game shared at one point, and you had picked up, like, I don't know, Infinite Warfare or something like that, and I remember downloading it and playing, like, a match or something like that, and I was like, "No, I'm done. I'm out. Like, I can't play." It was, I don't know, probably 6, 7, 8 years ago or something like that, and,
Yeah.
um, and it honestly, it might have been PlayStation, but I was like, "Alright, I don't know if I needed an Activision account or whatever," but I didn't have one. So I'm
Yeah.
like, "Alright." And I was like I was trying to see if I did, I didn't, and then it was like, I had to do I was like, "Alright, I'm gonna do the MFA," 'cause I always do the MFA 'cause I ain't taking that risk, right? And, so I'm trying to get that. It's like, it's not sending, and then it finally sends, but then it's like, I've already clicked send another one, so I have to wait for that one to come, and then, and it took me, it was like, I don't know, I just ran into a lot of issues trying to get that going, and,
Mm.
that I was just like, "I
Seamless
just
for me,
wanna
my
play."
account was ready.
I was like, why do I need an account to play a single player?" Hmm.
Data.
Yep.
Money,
So,
data.
it's like, but Xbox, you have my Xbox account because this is an Xbox game, like, right? This is a first
Yeah.
party game, Xbox game,
Yeah.
and, it's like, get my data from my Xbox account. Ugh. And then I'm gonna have to create, a Blizzard account if I wanna play on Battle.net, right? So 3
Yeah,
different
yeah. You just gotta I think those are merged now, the Activision
merge.
account and those, but, okay, anything else on Call of Duty?
No, I'm good.
Alright, I'll pull that down, and I'll throw my other one up. Let's just do how many more do you have? Do we have an even amount?
I don't know. I have a couple games that I'm gonna continue, like, that I talked about a little bit when, on the last episode with ATB that I've been playing. Um,
Okay. Not gonna lie, if you see me, like, shaking when I came in my office to, like, set up tonight, I moved some stuff on the floor and I saw a spider sprint, and I keep feeling like I'm feeling stuff on my legs. So, like, I have, my feet
just
are up
see,
on the
right?
computer, chair, so they're not on the ground. I figured no contact on the ground, we're good. Um, okay, I'll pull this one up. Boom! No surprise to anybody that listens to the show. Fortnite Reload Zero Build. They got a new map out. It's this desert one with a little bit of grass, and then they also introduced a map rotation. So it's like every 30 minutes or something, the map rotates. But this is a lot of fun. They've made a lot of changes. So zero build, no building, right? Reload is essentially I've talked about this before, but if you're playing duos like you and I would be playing, Evan, if I go down, I can reboot myself. You don't have to go bring me back to the game, but yeah, we have to wait 12 seconds. So essentially, you have to survive for 12 seconds so I can come back in. And if you don't, we get wiped and we're out of the game, right? So
Mm.
that's the whole point of Reload. They added a solo mode where you can reboot yourself up to 3 times. So if you get 2 chances, right? 3 total lives, 2 chances to come back, which is it's fun. It's pretty good. And I've got my buddy Patrick to play this with me. So he's like, "Oh, dude, I haven't played in a long time." Hopped on. He's like, "It's so different. This is so much fun. I don't understand why people, clown on this game." I got JP on to play. He's like, "Dude, this is actually really fun. Like, I haven't played it in years." So there's so much that's different about this game that I encourage people that even didn't like the Fortnite Battle Royale itself to give it a try because it is a lot of fun. This game, this map you're seeing is like 1/4 the size of the actual normal Fortnite map. So it's tighter, plays quicker. If you lose, you get to come back in 12 seconds. Then you can just if you both get wiped, you just load up another game. So I think it cuts a lot of the fat of what was in the normal battle royale and definitely the zero build. Like I cannot deal with 12-year-olds just building everything. I'm here to just have fun, get some
Is
loot,
that what they
and
sound like when they're building? Is
they do. That's the noise I make when I die because I'm angry. I just want to swear on the microphone. But yeah, if you guys are playing this, drop a note in the comments. Where do you like to drop? What's your favorite weapon? I'm all about the hammer. I think the hammer assault rifle is the best gun. I'll actually carry two of those instead of having a submachine gun or something else. I'd rather have two hammers, even though it's the same ammo type. So that's my weekly Fortnite plug. It's not what
Nice.
you thought it was. Come and
So
try
we've
it.
so we've got Call of Duty, we've got Fortnite. Now to our next niche game, Madden, right?
Yeah, 2K. Do you have
um,
something you want to put on screen or no?
I guess should have done that. But yeah, I've been playing more Control, a little bit more Control. I haven't played as much just because like I wanted to jump into Call of Duty. I wanted to jump into some of these other games. Like I said, well, Banjo. I'm really enjoying Control, but it's such a specific, like it's a very cinematic. It's got that film grain to it, right? Like
Mhm.
which is very like atmospheric. It's great, like and everything. But I was just kind of like, all right, like I just want to like I'm gonna take a break. I feel like I'm like um I've several hours in at this point, so I've just kind of been bouncing around a little bit. But I'll probably get back into it and just I'm right at um a pretty critical. I don't want to give any spoilers in the game, but um kind of like starting I'm at the point where you're starting a mission that's kind of been like a big purpose of the game, like a purpose of what you've been of the story, right? Like
Yeah.
what the character's story, what they're going for. um and I have but yeah, other than that, like I said,
How do you like just really quick on control? How do you
Mhm.
like
Yeah, yeah.
the powers and also the little I don't want to call them side missions, but they're those like you get pulled off to kind of like the memories you know what I'm talking about? I don't want to give it
Yes,
away.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
How do you like those?
No, it's great. I think they're pretty cool. They're fun. They're fun little puzzles, right? There's like, some of them are not as cool, but like, and it's like the vibe to me is like as far as like the artistic style on those, it like it's takes you to something a little bit different, and it kind of makes me think of Super Hot a little bit in terms of like
Mm,
visually what it looks like.
yeah.
Um, that type of like I don't even know if it's polygonal, but there's like super hot is, but it's just like faceless and things like that, right?
Yeah.
uh but they're fun little like side things, and it's like I mean the one big thing I like here is like I do like the exploration. I like there are secrets to find here, and
Yeah.
like I as I'm getting the achievements on Xbox, I'm like hitting some that I'm like, oh, like I just assumed that that was a part of the story, or a part of like the progression. And but it's like I finish a mission, like I find one of these things that you're talking about or whatever,
Mhm.
and it's like, oh, like uh 18% achievement, or 18% of players have gotten this achievement, and then I finished the mission that is existed, that is a part of that, and it's like 25% of I was like, oh, so not everybody gets this, right? Like
Yeah.
I was like, that's interesting. And it's just kind of like I don't it kind of makes me think a little bit about like, how do other people play games? How do they just like do they just have tunnel vision and they're just like,
Yeah.
it's like it's really hard for me to like to see that when the option is there, and like I wish there was a little more maybe reward to explore or more consistent reward to exploration, because there's certainly, like I said, you finding those is like that's very rewarding. And but I do like I like trying to find every like document and file. Like there's a lot of stuff to find, but it's not like it's just kind of lore to read about, and I'm like, I'm not really that interested in that. I want like some kind of like
Oh, the
bonus
lore is
points
so
upgrade.
good. It's so
Yeah,
good.
I do like I do listen to all of the ones. I listen to all the audio files you find, and I watch all
Yeah,
the videos you find. It's cool
like
to
the
have that
director and
be in
stuff.
there. It's,
Yeah.
it's a type of game that, like, would like, just at the surface doesn't really look like, "Oh, it's whatever." It doesn't look like my kind of game. I didn't have a lot of draw really to any of the Remedy games. I've heard they've been great. They're wonderful things and stuff, but, like, they just kind of, they didn't look like they were necessarily for me. Like, I don't like the cinematic, adventure games. It's just never, like, I don't wanna say never, but, like, they haven't been really a big draw for me for a long time. Like, I didn't really care for Last of Us. I was maybe 80% through Last of Us, right? I played the only bit Uncharted I've played is on Vita, but and maybe I will. And it's like I did enjoy a little bit of Tomb Raider, but I didn't like. I'm just going to talk about all the PlayStation games. I didn't like Horizon Zero Dawn,
Mhm.
which that
That's
world to
way
me.
different. That's open world though.
Yeah, yeah, and that got repetitive for me, and that was the thing because it's like as far as what was there, like the like nature taking over robot dinosaurs type of deal, like freaking so cool. That
Yeah,
is such a
great
cool.
setting, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, not to get
How'd you like the abilities in this? I think once you get some of the abilities in this, it's like the way you flow and play is pretty cool. You like jump in and boost in and shooting and pushing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
You
cool.
definitely so it is kind of cool. You do get the option to just kind of choose. Right, there's some RPG light elements to it, so that's also
Mhm.
probably another good appeal to me is that like I can kind of create the character or mold the character into like how I want them to in terms of what their abilities are and everything, right? Um, and it's I don't want to say it's quite Metroidvania because but there might be even a little bit of Metroidvania light elements to there. I haven't gone back and re-explored too many of the other levels, but like you do get these powers going forward that give you capabilities to do more things.
Accessibility.
And then
Yeah.
yeah, and there are the clearance things, which is a little separate than Metroidvania, but like you do get the clearance levels and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely like being able to shape the character into like things that I prefer to do. Um, and um, I like I said, I've been shaping it into I like the throwing things. The
Yeah.
whatever that ability a lot. Like I've never used the shield, so I just don't level that up. But like and then you kind of get to a point where it's like if I only did the throwing things, if I only leveled up the throwing things, I kind of get to a point where I'm like I already take out everybody in like one hit anyway. So it's like it does like encourage you to like at least explore a
Yeah.
little bit, not one path in
One
terms of
branch.
combat.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you only did throwing things, right, it's like you're not you're probably not going to do super well. So it does like you maybe could do it, but like you want to have a little bit of diversity, but it doesn't like force you into like any one thing. You kind of get to shape your character. I think it's a really good balance the way it does that. And I really
Right.
like the combat. I think it's really fun. Really enjoyed it. It kind of makes me think of and this probably is a um oh, what was the game? Oh, so it made me feel a little bit like Resident Evil 2, and that's probably just the way the game progresses, right? The story progresses.
Yeah.
You've got the hub
I could
state, you've
see
got
I
the
could see
hub, and
that. I could see that.
it, it's not as scary as, and you don't have things chasing you as much. You
Mhm.
do a little bit, I think, throughout the game, but like as much as you do in RE2. But and that's just like that's probably the closest game I've played to that to this, which I played earlier this year and it's probably the closest thing I've played to it in a decade. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like I said, maybe Last of Us or something like that. But even that's different. But it does have me interested in getting into like the Remedyverse, which maybe we talked about this on the last
We
episode.
did. Yeah, like a couple episodes ago, yeah.
But
Okay. Control, I like it. I still have it installed on my Series S actually. I don't know why. But go back and play it for fun. You want to pull up your next one, and then I'll go one after that.
sure, yeah, let's go for it.
Cool. And
So
then, do you mind monologuing for like 30 seconds while I step away?
oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Right. So I'm just gonna back into Titan Souls. I played a little. I talked about this a little bit last episode with ATB, but Titan Souls is by is the first game or an earlier game from Acid Nerve that did Death's Door. Which I have for the last several episodes talked about how Death's Door is my favorite 2D Zelda game. I like it more than any 2D actual Zelda 2D Zelda game that I've played. Um, this has a lot shares a lot of that DNA. This is you can definitely see that uh, Death's Door expanded on what Titan Souls did or Essenderv did with Titan Souls. The combat's very straightforward. You have an arrow, as you can see on the screen there. It's like you shoot that one arrow. It's a charge shot, and then you pull it back. You have to you pull it back like Thor's hammer. Um, and I would say that like if you're interested in one of these games, um Death's Door is a more fleshed out game. That's probably the one to start with, and if you love like the combat and stuff with that, then go into Acid Nerve. But or I'm sorry, go into Titan Souls. But honestly, if you are just looking for that boss rush piece, Titan Souls is the way to go. Um, and because there's a lot more story, there's a lot more exploration, there's puzzles and stuff to solve in Death's Door. Where Titan Souls is just like is pretty much there's a small amount of like exploration. There's a world to like go to, but it's primarily the boss rush, with a very simple combat.
What are you playing this on? What
I'm
platform?
playing this on Steam Deck, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, it runs. It plays pretty good. It's it has me wondering. I'm like, do I like there's things I like about the controls of the Steam Deck, and there's things I like about hold it like the portability or the whole just the playing on a Switch, right? Like
Hmm.
people complain about how the Switch is like small and gets uncomfortable and blah blah blah, and like I can kind of see that argument. I don't have like I have thick hands. I don't have long fingers or anything. Like my hands are not very big. I just have so it's like I don't know if that contributes to it, but like holding the Steam Deck feels large, and which
It
is
feels heavy too.
yeah, it does, and it's just like and the placement of I don't use the D-pad a whole lot in this game or whatever, but like that's definitely something that like contributes. Like the D-pad's in a weird placement to me, and
Yeah.
but there's certainly times that I'm like I don't know if this is the best, and like in trying to push some buttons, I feel like I'm like trying to balance the Steam Deck in my hands, right? The weight distribution and things like that because it
Yeah.
is, and I've never really like thought that that would be a thing, and I've never noticed it in like Vampire Survivors or something like Dome Keeper or something like that, because there's not a
Yeah.
whole lot of like twitchy reaction type of movement in those games, right? Like you're just using the sticks in Vampire Survivors and like Dome Keeper. Those are the two most played, and then like Portal and stuff's the game I played with, but like Dome Keeper and Vampire Survivors are the my two most played games on the deck. And yeah, but I was just talking about Titan Souls. I think Titan Souls is something you would check out. You liked Death's Door, right?
Yeah, I this has
Uh,
been on my radar for a long time. I just never played it. So, even just looking at the screenshots and hearing you talk about it a bit, I'm
yeah,
interested in
yeah. And I
picking it
was
up.
just while you were gone, I was saying, sure, you can definitely see the shared DNA that and really w- what the ideas they expanded upon on Death's Door from Titan Souls, and
Yeah.
it's like, but it's like it's got that satisfying combat that you get in Death's Door, but that's pretty much the gameplay loop, right?
Mm.
It's much more of a boss rush than a like a dungeon crawler.
It is the
Uh,
same studio or no?
yeah, this is Acid Nerve.
Or it's two person. I mean, I'm sure
Yep.
they contracted some stuff out, but yeah, two-person studio.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and it's yeah, I can't recommend Death's Door enough, but this is
I
really
love
good.
that store, so definitely, and I'm interested in this. I'm definitely down to check that out. I think it's not on sale currently on Steam, but
Not currently, but I
it
feel like it's
should be
gone down to
here
like $2
on
or
Black
$3 or
Friday.
something.
But
Yeah, I can't remember if
uh,
I got it as part of a bundle or if I've just paid like $2 or $3 for it. But this was after like I still get the itch to go back into Death's Door, and I go back. I'm like Death's Door. I talked about how it's my favorite 2D Zelda, but it might be my favorite indie. Like it might pass up Celeste for me.
Titan
And
Souls is $1.50 on GOG right now.
oh yeah,
Can you
I
play
mean,
GOG games on Steam Deck? You can't, can you?
you can, yeah. I don't know exactly what you have to do for it, but because I pick up the
Uh, you need one of those
Amazon.
launchers, like the one that just got pulled.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I think there are some workarounds for it, but I couldn't tell you what they are. Maybe somebody in the comments
Uh,
can tell us. But yeah,
mm.
for $1.50, this is a no-brainer. I've played, so it's supposed to be like a 2 to 4 hour game or something like that, like 7 for completionist. And I thought so after last episode, I thought
You've played 20, right?
right. So well with ATB, I thought I had like the Steam Deck sometimes like it logs hours played like in a weird, it doesn't do it accurately and then updates. But because I hopped on the other day and it said 56 hours played. I was like, I've not played this game for 56 hours. And then I like backed out and I went back in, it said 2.2 hours. And I was like, so it must have happened after last episode with
Mm.
ATB because it said like 4.5 hours played. And so I don't know, I have about 3 hours in this game, but I am like not halfway through it yet. So um
Mm.
no, it's good. I beating a boss in this it just feels so good. Feels so good.
I'm gonna have to check it out then. Yeah, you like this boss rush stuff. You might like Black Myth Wukong, which I gotta beat still, by the way. I'm on the final boss.
Oh no, I just assumed you beat it at this point.
No, because I had my trip to the US and stuff, and then came
Yeah,
back
yeah.
and picked up on other games. And
Right.
there's two final bosses. There's a secret one and the final. And if you want the secret ending, you got to beat the secret first, then beat the final. So I was trying to beat the secret, and he's one of the most difficult bosses in the game, and he pretty much broke me to the point like I tried
Mm.
dozens and dozens and dozens of times. Um, so I need to go back and beat it. But yeah, you might like that type of game, or if I don't know if is what was the game we were talking about earlier? What was
We
one of
talked
your games?
so I
Uh,
played Hollow. I was talking about Hollow Knight, and
oh,
then my first game.
Hollow Knight. This is what I was going to bring up. If Silk Song does what Elden Ring did for like Souls likes, I could see that being a big hit for you. Like you talked about having to traverse back to the bosses. Like if they make a lot of quality life improvements, I think
Mhm.
that could be a mega hit for you.
Yeah, yeah. The Hollow Knight is such a good game, right? And like, despite the things that I don't like about it, like it's just like it was. Yoku's Island Express was the game that made me reconsider. Because I did not look. Metroidvania was I hated it for a long time. Like that was something like if something said, "Oh, Metroidvania," I was like, "Nope, not for me." I just had a distaste for it for a long time, and then
Oh
Yoku's
yeah.
Island Express showed up in a direct one time, a Nintendo Direct, and it had this like pinball mechanic. I was like, "Oh, this pinball game is so looking pretty cool," and also like it's it has a much more cheerful environment than or atmosphere than most Metroidvanias do, right?
Hmm.
And probably just because the games that the genre has spawned from, Metroid and Castlevania, are both pretty dark, like serious, intense environments, atmospheres. But Yoku's Island Express was very different, light, cheerful. Uh, yeah, just it kind of takes me back to a lot of fun. So I was like, all right, I picked up Yoku's Island Express and I ripped through that so fast. I loved it. And I was like, okay, maybe I do like some Metroidvania. So then I was like, all right, Hollow Knight is the one, right? Like is if
Hmm.
I'm gonna jump into a Hollow or into a Metroidvania in like 2018 or 2017 or whatever it was, like Hollow Knight's
Yeah.
the one I should probably jump into, all right? Or Ori games. And so I picked up Hollow Knight and I ended up putting I don't know so many hours into it. I can't remember what my percentage is. I just where I'm at right now in the game, but I have a good chunk of the map discovered and um
Wait, you
jumping
never
back.
beat Hollow Knight?
I never beat it.
I
No.
don't want to hear Silk Song ever from you again. You got to beat Hollow Knight first before you
Well,
anticipate Silk Song.
Silk Song should come out eventually, right? Right
Yeah,
after Half
right.
Life 3. And and but I was like, I need to beat Hollow Knight before Silk Song comes out, right? And it's like,
Hmm.
and I do feel like the next time we hear about Silk Song, like it'll be out pretty soon after, right? Like it's like they're
Yeah,
not gonna
it's
come out
gotta
and be
be
like,
right.
come out, yeah, they're not gonna come out and be like, all right, see you in 2 years. Like at
Yeah,
this
no,
point,
no way.
like the next time we hear about it, it's got to be like, and get it now or next month, like pretty
Right.
much.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, I probably need a little more, I should probably just go ahead and beat Hollow Knight before we hear from Silk's song again. And but no, it's so good. It's just it's a heavy it's a lot, right? Like there's a lot of games. Same thing with like, I ripped through the first Ori game and then I moved right into Will of the Wisps, and I haven't finished Will of the Wisps either, and then I've kind of jumped back into that at
Oh.
times, and both great games and stuff, but like you kind of get to a point where like because they're so challenging, you get to points where it's like, all right, I need to step away from this for a minute, and then you think about it the next night, and you're like, oh, I don't really feel like doing that again right now.
Yeah.
Like I spent
Like
2 hours
Black
on this.
Wukong, right? I just said that, so I
Right,
can
right,
totally
right.
get that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess I can't give you too much crap on Black Myth since you just started playing that this year, and I've been playing Hollow Knight for 6 years or something.
Years, yeah. Okay, I've got 2 more games. One is gonna be like a 30-second thing, and then the second one is one we've both been playing. You mind if I go real quick?
Yeah.
Cool. So the, Steam what's the current Steam sale? Like food, basically
Oh, yeah,
food-based.
yeah, yeah.
So I picked up Galaxy Burger. I have not played it yet, but I'm gonna play it tomorrow. With my kids, they're excited. They saw the video of it and they're like, okay, this looks fun. Essentially, it's you get these menu items and you've got there's a co-op in this too. If I don't think my kids are up for this yet, but there is co-op and you have to make the orders and serve them and stuff like that. So it looks pretty cool. I had some recommendations and feedback from our listeners to do Played Up and Galaxy Burger, so I got both of those, and I'm really looking forward to those.
Nice.
And then the game we've both been playing,
Oh, yeah.
Pokemon Pocket TCG.
Yeah.
Um, this is a lot of fun, man. So I think you and I are both approaching this game differently, which is great that people can do that. So, what's
Right.
your experience with the game? How are you playing it? And then I'll talk about how I'm playing it.
Yeah. So, my oldest right now is like just obsessed with Pokemon. It's his favorite thing in the universe, and he reminds us of that regularly. And
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, he's in kindergarten, he's 6 years old, like he's right, at that age of like the Pokemon obsession. I have a 3-year old as well, and she's getting into it, and she's into it because he's into it, kind of thing. And
Mhm.
and so like I started this up, the day that it came out, and then my wife, also she's just like, well, I guess I should probably download it or whatever. Maybe I can visit her too. But so we
Mhm.
kind of wait. You get your 2 packs a day, and or every 12 hours you can open up a new pack or whatever for free, which is my favorite price. And so we kind of like, we mostly let the kids open the packs, and like, I Charizard's been my favorite Pokemon from like day one, and so I've been chasing that Charizard EX, and so it's like been opened up the packs, and then like anytime we open the pack, my son kind of got into it. At first, like he was opening Pikachu pack, Mewtwo packs, and then like kind of understood that, like I was like, yeah, I was like, I want to get that Charizard, and so he's been opening Charizard packs nonstop, right? And
Yeah.
he's been choosing Charizard packs nonstop. So and he found the just like the basic like 4 diamond Charizard or whatever,
Yeah. Yep.
the card that the most common Charizard card. Got it. I was like, sweet Charizard card, and then somebody in the Discord let me know that the EX actually has like more abilities.
Yeah.
It's not just a prettier looking card. It's actually more. There's more to it. So it's like, well, crap. Now I got to chase that. And and my son, again, been chasing that. And then my wife got it before I did, and I was like real jealous. And and so then my son opened up a pack the other day, and he was so pumped. It's funny because they scroll through the packs. I think it was like somebody proved that like it doesn't matter which
It
pack
doesn't
you actually
matter.
pick, they're
Yeah.
all the
Once
same.
you once you select the type of pack to open, the cards are selected.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And my kids go through these, like, they have their own little, like, strategy, especially my son has a strategy on how, like, he's like, "All right, I'm gonna scroll through the whole wheel, like, 2 times. I'm gonna flip each pack, and then
Yeah.
I'm gonna scroll again the other way, and then I'm gonna pick my pack." And that's, or stuff that, like, or he changes it up all the time or whatever, and how he's gonna pick his pack, and I can't let him know, that it's like it's
Yeah,
like
you can't break his heart, man.
right, right, and it's like he gets so much excitement, and there's a sense of mystery and adventure for him out of that, so that's fun. And but he got my Charizard EX the other day.
Nice.
And then we just started battling. Actually, both me and my wife both just started. I think she started battling more. She's been battling more than I have, which I was like, oh, I
I'm
didn't know
not
that.
surprised. You're not a battler.
Yeah, right,
You're
right,
here for
true.
Charizards.
Right. And I did open a Mewtwo pack, I think, yesterday, because I was like, all right, I got my EX Charizard. Now I got to chase some of these other things. But I did create a deck when I started battle, and I was like, all right, I'm going to create a deck. I'm going to create one with fire and fighting types. And I'm not chasing the meta right now, especially with the kids. Like, I'm just having the fun of the discovery and stuff with the kids. So I'm just like, I'm gonna create this deck with what I think feels like good with some, like, I was like, fire and fighting type. And mostly because that's what I have a good chunk of. And and so I did my first battle, and like I didn't really pay attention to how the energy work production works and stuff. And it's just if you have more than one type, it's just random on how the energy production works. So it's like I start the I start the game, and I have three fire type Pokemon, and all that generates for my first 5 turns is fighting energy. And I was like, I can't do anything with any of my Pokemon. I need a fire energy to do an attack with them. And I don't have any fighting Pokemon yet. I do have, I have Machoke and Machamp sitting in my hand, but I can't do anything with them without a Machop. And then I finally get a Machop, and the fire energy comes out. And um and then I wasn't able to use any of that fighting energy on Machoke or Machamp because they were sitting in my hand. So I was like, all right, dude, I'm doing one type decks. I destroyed that deck after that battle, and I've just pursuing one type deck since.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's been my experience. Just playing it pretty casually, but like regularly, consistently,
Mhm.
right? Like I said, like the kids are getting involved, and it's just kind of a fun family event for us. While also, just pursuing my childhood dream, or like not dreams, but just reliving the childhood a little bit by opening up those booster packs. I just wish I could smell the Pokemon cards, right?
Yeah, totally, and hear the sound.
Yeah, right. But how
Yeah,
about
it
you?
is. Oh, well, total opposite, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, polar opposites. I was a hyper competitive, Pokemon player as a kid and into high school, and, so this is like a dream come true, this coming back. Short way to play, I don't have to go to events in person, um excuse me. Don't have to go to events in person and buy tons of cards and stuff. The game's very shortened. You only need to get 3 knockouts essentially, or an EX and a normal. So I'm all about collecting the cards, but I'm mainly playing, right? So when you said you made decks and you didn't do the meta, not at all here, right? Like I'm online, I'm reading like what's the meta. You know, 2 evolution cards, even if they're EX, don't play very well, very often because they take too long.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
like, in the picture, you see Marowak EX, Arcanine EX, those are more common. Starmie, is a big problem right now, so you don't see a lot of Charizards, Venusaurs, Blastoises because it just takes too long. So we'll probably have to wait for new cards or, rule changes. Someone did post that, like, the terms say, like, "Hey, these cards are subject to change. Like they're digital. We will change them if we see fit."
Yeah.
The big thing right now is the birds, right, and the Pikachu's. So the the Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres EX, so powerful. I don't know if you knew this, but you're guaranteed to draw a Pokemon card in your opening hand. So what people are doing and what I do with my deck is like I put 2 Articuno EXs, nothing else, no other Pokemon. I just want
Oh,
I want trainers and stuff because you're guaranteed to at least get that one, right? So
yeah.
you're just trying to get the biggest, baddest thing out there as quick as you can. So these basic EXs are kind of a problem for the game, I think, if you're like a
Yeah.
competitive player. So we'll see what they do with that. And then Pikachu deck is like won some big tournament that was online that they did. Like a lot of the top decks were Pikachu, and the Pikachu EX is like this card does, I don't know, plus 40 damage for each Pokemon on the bench or something. So they
Mhm.
spam other Pokemon out and then do a ton of, lightning damage. But all to say, I love this game. It's fun. I do the same thing with my kids. I let them open the packs, and it's fun seeing seeing their little
Yeah.
rituals. My wife plays as well. She's getting way better pulls than I am. It's super frustrating. She just got that awesome looking Mewtwo, and it plays the animation similar to your Charizard did, I think. You get the card and it like plays an animation, them like
Yes.
flying
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, it's pretty
Yep.
cool, right?
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
I do like
Yeah.
that they're doing a lot of events, right? So I know you said you're not really battling a lot, but you can play this game solo. So there is like play against the AI computer, and
I
there's solo events. So there was just a
mhm,
Lapras event that was
I
solo
did
and you
that.
could get promo cards. There's events
Which
for playing real players too. What were you
so
gonna
I was
say?
sorry, I was gonna ask, so the Lapras event, right? We talked about, so that was one thing I was thinking about in terms of, you talked about how like the or the two-stage evolution or three-stage evolution cards and stuff not being as popular because it takes too long.
Hmm.
Yeah, obviously Lapras is one that is, just it's a basic Pokemon, right? And so
Hmm.
that was actually something that had me thinking, like, I just thinking about myself, which I do kind of appreciate, like, not learning the meta. Like that's something
Hmm.
I'm getting out of it personally. Just like is kind of figuring it out myself. Like, oh, I was like, this Lapras just goes out right away, and I was like, maybe it's not as strong as Charizard, but I was like, you just send it out and it's good to go. Although it does need a ton of energy, but like,
Yep.
eh, um, uh, before it can do anything. So that was one thing I was going to ask in terms of like like. I think there was a two stage or three, whatever, the three stage evolution card that I just saw yesterday, that but like the attack only took one energy. So I'm like,
Hmm.
is that as good or better, or like, is a one or basic Pokemon that takes four energy to attack? Like, because it's like maybe the attack maybe does 80 damage instead of like 120, but it's like a lot of times 80 damage, especially if your types line up right, is
Hmm.
going to be, it's a one or two turn knockout.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, totally an economy game, right? So like you're saying, like, yeah, you bust out, I don't know, Arcanine EX here, you see on the screen, it takes 3 energy to do 120, but if you're a guy that's got 1 energy doing 50 and you do that twice before this guy can even power up, you've essentially done the same amount of damage, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a numbers game in that regard. Like even this Executor EX here is popular. 1 energy, yes, you got to evolve them once, but 1 energy, flip a coin if heads, tech does 40 more damage. So you're looking at like 80, potentially 80 damage for one thing. To your point about the multiple energy, that's how Articuno is, right? So it's a 2 energy attack that's kind of weak, 40, and then a 3 energy attack that's 80, but does 10 to each bench Pokemon. And
Mm,
the only reason that can be good is because of the Misty Trainer card, which is specific to water types. It allows you to flip a coin and you keep as long as you keep getting heads, you get that many energy on the Pokemon. So literally
yeah.
turn one, you could be fully powered up. So it's kind of it's up to chance, but it's kind of broken in that regard. So definitely some
Yeah.
balancing issues, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to explore some of the other, like, because like with the Lapras event, I was just renting the electric deck.
Yep.
And it was just like the magneton, which like allows you to pull basically an extra electric energy to magneton each
Mhm.
turn. So you can drop two energy each turn. And then there's Lieutenant Surge. So it's like if you've got magneton on your bench, and then Lieutenant Surge will pull, you can pull all of your energy from a bench Pokemon to an Electrode or Magneton or Raichu, I believe. And
Mhm.
which Raichu is like, it's like if you've got, all right, you built up Raichu to get that three energy, you use whatever his attack is that spends the three energy, and then you have Magneton sitting right there in the bench, or two Magneton, and that now you're pulling three energy each turn or whatever, and it's like, all right, I can just pull the energy from with the Lieutenant Surge to Raichu and stuff. So it's like,
Yep.
but I'm like, you were talking about the Articuno and the Misty, and I was like, oh, I every type probably has that kind of that synergy, right?
Yeah.
In some form, right? And it's like, I really got it. I'm looking forward to exploring some of that, and I'll probably mostly do that through the events.
Yeah.
Just kind of seeing like, okay, I'm playing, a fire. It's a fire event, so I'm just gonna play a water deck if it's whatever. Um,
Yep. Yeah, I basically I went through and made a deck of each type. And then for me, I tried to make each of them like as meta as possible, but I think that's good for anybody. Like go through your cards, make a deck of each type, and then keep that deck. And as you get new cards and learn new things, just upgrade the deck. Like explore, like you said, and then go from there. I think it's awesome that there's doing these events. You have the Wonder Picks as well, so you get to pick other people's one card from other people's packs, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall, I think it's fairly well done and fairly like tasteful in terms of like microtransactions and stuff. It's not too heavy, at least yet. Free to play can still play. Like, yeah, you'll probably get stomped by a meta deck, like if you're playing against another player, but there's technically like a beginner queue and an advanced queue, although a lot of people are smurfing in the beginner queue. You pop in there, you get smashed by Mewtwo. But I like that they have the single player stuff too and the promo cards. That they're supposed to have another set in January. They just said trading will come online at the turn of the year, I think. Um, they did say only certain cards can be traded, so it'll be interesting how they do that. Like, oh, you can only trade commons, or maybe it costs something to do an EX, or what you do one a week or something. Who knows?
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know. Jumping in.
Yeah.
Playing out here
Um,
playing Fortnite and Call of Duty and Pokemon trading card game on on mobile.
what year is it? Um, all right. Do we want to jump into one of our main topics and talk a little bit about Xbox?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Let me pull that up. We're
Funny, we
about
came into this week like let's do like an hour long episode, and we're an hour and 15 minutes in, and we're
yeah,
now that's what we've played.
it happens. So, oh, here's the ad. So this is an Xbox. This is an Xbox. This is an Xbox. That's a cat box. So for anybody not tracking or listening to audio only, Xbox just came out with this big marketing campaign within the past couple days, and it's basically saying like, hey, you don't need just like a physical Xbox to play Xbox games. You can play them on like your Legion Go. You can play them on a TV, a Fire Stick, an Oculus, whatever it is, a phone. And so they're really trying to push us out there, like, hey, play our games, make us money, and you don't need an Xbox to do it. You can play them anywhere. And this will lead into some of the interview things we're going to talk about here. So just off the rip, what's your reaction to this campaign so far, the marketing?
So I'm gonna say right now, I just this thought came by is they really missed an opportunity to throw whatever the value box is. I didn't know it used to be the $5 box at Taco Bell, where where they would do the sweepstakes to win an Xbox or PlayStation or whatever. They really missed the opportunity to say like, this is a Taco Bell box that can win
Mm,
you an Xbox or something.
yeah, maybe they will. Maybe they call Phil up, let him know.
Right, right. But yeah, initially it's just like, this initial like, oh my gosh, they're just killing the brand kind of thing. Like was the right up the gut reaction. But like really it's just like it's at least for me starting to like shape the vision that the strategy that they've been going toward, with their that's like their multiplayer. I mean, it's becoming clearer and clearer that it's like the goal is to have um, Xbox games be as playable by as many people as absolutely possible. Like that is the primary goal. Is like it's a pure numbers game. Like
To make money.
whatever they can do to get people playing, whether it's their multi-platform strategy, whether it's their strategy to expand their platform beyond the console itself and to every device they can possibly expand to. Which does have me thinking, it's just like the battles they're having with Google and Android and iPhone and or Apple and on the iPhone and iOS store, Apple Store, App Store. That they're trying to get their platform as a like native apps and things like and their ability to run things like Game Pass and stuff on there. Um, I'm sure just like the focus right now because that's the kind of with the bigger battles that they're having, and it's like that's such a
Right.
huge um user base to them. You like we've seen it, going to Fire Sticks, we've seen it going to Samsung TVs. Um, yeah, I mean, it's to me, this is a very, very clear that it's just like as much we just want Xbox as accessible as possible.
Yep. I'll agree with that. Especially because I said this like a year ago. We were talking about this offline a little bit. I think we had an episode, multiple episodes where we kind of clashed on this, and I'm like, it is a numbers game. They want you to play everywhere. They don't care. And then we've seen this unfold with we at the time we talked about Project Keystone. We thought they would have a special controller or an adapter, but they went the Fire TV route, right? Fire Stick.
Yeah.
And so we've seen this unfold in their actions. And I think it makes sense to me, right? Like we've talked about year over year, generation over generation decline on hardware sales. Xbox One was nowhere near as good as the 360, and the Series X, Series S is not even meeting the Xbox One, right? So that decline, if you're looking at that as a somebody running a business, it's like, what do we do? Do we keep making hardware and keep trying to fight that same uphill battle? Like you would love to say yes. I would love to say I'm gonna have that breakthrough moment and we're gonna beat PlayStation, we're gonna beat Switch, and everybody's gonna buy an Xbox, but it's just not realistic. Um, so you have to change the rules of the game, right? You cannot play by the same rules that everybody else is playing by, and that's what they're doing here. They're flipping it on its head and saying, "Look, games are what's going to make the money, including Game Pass. And how do we get more people to play more games? And we just let them play everywhere, literally everywhere, right? If they buy the hardware, great. It's not going to make us the most money. Everything else is. So, um, we'll see what happens next. I think you got an image you want me to put on the stream
I
here.
I do. So here's my biggest problem at this point with their strategy. And to me,
The cart
you
before
know,
the horse.
yeah, so where so what's the strategy, right? Is have Xbox games as accessible to as many people as possible, right?
Hmm.
So can I can I download a Game Pass app on my iPhone right now? Or
No.
I'm sorry, can I
Well,
stream like natively
yeah.
stream Game Pass games? Can I play my Xbox games? Can I play games that aren't on Game Pass that I own on my iPhone right now? What about my Android tablet? Can I play them on
I mean, you can play, but it's not as straightforward as it should be. I mean, they do give you the instructions of how to do it,
right,
right?
right.
Like
You
you
have to do a web app and blah blah blah. But like, what
yeah,
about can I stream games that I own from the xCloud? Not that are not on Game Pass. Can I do that right now?
not yet.
No, not yet. So yeah, can is every is every game I buy on Xbox also something I can just download on my PC and play without any extra charge?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Right. So I see the vision, right? And they're advertising this vision before it's executed. And so I'm a little concerned that like I said, as the image here, Mark pointed out, is the cart before the horse kind of thing, where it's like, all right, this is what Xbox is, and it's like, well, this is what Xbox wants it to be. Um, and they do have a lot of accessibility currently, but it is not, I don't think it's in the place right now to where it's like that's the vision that can be sold, because it's not, I don't think it is complete enough yet to sell that vision, because it's like, also, I mean, even on the Steam Deck, like yeah, I can buy Xbox games on Steam, that's fine.
Mhm.
I can, but like to play even xCloud is really the only way to play any like actual Xbox platform on Steam Deck, and that's a workaround, right? Like that's not a like, oh, I just downloaded the Xbox XCloud app on Steam. It's like, no, I have to go into desktop mode, and then I have to do this, and I have to uh put the launch it in the web browser, and then that's how I can play my XCloud game or Game Pass games through XCloud on my Steam Deck. And it's like, um or you have to,
Was the Steam Deck ever shown in the marketing? I thought it was only
no,
like
I
the
think it was
Legion
Wrong
Go and
Ally
stuff.
or whatever. But
Yeah, okay.
like,
So a little
but yeah,
different, but yeah, it's like
yeah,
I get what
yeah,
you're saying, but
but
they haven't come out and pointed out the Steam Deck.
right, right, right. Yeah, that's fair. And but I mean, what's the reputation of the handheld experience for Windows right now? Is it good? Because it's
No,
not.
definitely not. Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like, the handheld platform needs to be cleaned up. The availability of like playing all of my games on xCloud needs to be there. Play anywhere needs to be a lot more of a thing. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but there needs to be a lot more. Like right now, Play Anywhere. It's
More
like it seems like
compatibility. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There just needs to be a lot more compatibility for Play Anywhere, and I think they're heading in the direction, right? And I think that like I'm almost curious to see if like they're with the next launch at the console that they launch, if that will be like almost a requirement. Like, all right, Xbox is if you're putting your game on Xbox, you're putting your game on Xbox as a platform. You're not putting it on the Xbox console. Right. Like it's a requirement. Right. Which is that good or is that bad? It's like there's already been issues with like the Series S. Right now, it's like right where like Baldur's Gate 3 or um where it's like it didn't launch because there was some issues with the Series
Mhm.
S version. And I think it's a little overblown with the Series S. Like issues
Agreed.
with Series S. But but it's like, what happens when it's like, oh, you have to have a PC version, or and maybe it's just like if you have a PC version, you have to have like I'm just curious to see what that launch, or maybe they just really it's more of an encouragement. It's a money hatting. Like they're like, all right, we'll give you this much better deal if you put it on Play Anywhere, which I think that's probably maybe the approach that they'll have to take. That the only one they'll like. I think it would be good to have like everything should be Play Anywhere. That'd be great for the consumer, but it's like it's not great for the consumer if that means that games just stop coming to Xbox.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if moving forward they change their SDK, their software
Mm.
development kit, for people not
Yeah,
familiar, so that when you build against that SDK to make a game, right? So when you make a game or develop a program, you use an SDK, you have to target a platform, and a lot of those things will help you target multiple platforms, and they take all the little, you've done the 80%, they do the last 20% of like the little knobs and levers to make this work on Xbox, make work on PlayStation, or whatever it may be. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to narrow that down, as you're saying, so that hey, when you develop our game against our new SDK, it's going to run on Xbox, it's going to run on,
right.
handhelds, it's going to stream, whatever it is. Um,
It's
I
not a
could
whole
see
lot
that
different than
happening.
what not a whole lot different than what Proton does, right? For Steam.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So like a compatibility layer in that regard, but yeah. Um, I guess I would agree with the cart before the horse, but also I don't know that there's a better way to do it. Like, do they sit there and try and do all that stuff, and then in 3 years, they're like, "Oh, by the way, everything's an Xbox." It's like, no, you gotta kinda you're not wrong, but
Yeah,
I also think they have to do it this way, just the nature of the beast of changing the
in a
way that
world where
they're
like
approaching the business.
the late stage capitalist world that we live in, right? Like it's not like
Yeah.
you just gotta like, all right, this is we've got to like you said, we've got to sell what we're becoming and stuff because it's like if we wait too long, it might be too late. And it's like,
Exactly,
well,
yeah. Yeah, and those sales and stuff will help boost it, right? Like if they're looking at marketing and the potentials of, what's in each market. So they're like, X amount of million people have a Fire Stick. If we even get I don't know, 1 million or 250,000 of those people to play a game and convert, that's X amount of dollars. And that helps
right.
us now. It helps us right now, not in
Yeah.
3 years when the vision's complete.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It brings in more money to put more money into development of the platform as
yeah.
to execute this strategy, right? To further execute it, and not that Microsoft as a whole is short in cash, um,
But
but
there are
it
budgets, right? And you need
right,
return
but
on
there are
investment.
budgets, and if Xbox as a brand is bringing in the money it needs to support, right? Like it gets more in its budget, right? Like it's going to get more in its budget if it's bringing in more money,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
more
yeah,
money, right?
100%.
Right? Like it's a like if it's so yeah, it's I'm coming around to it, honestly, just because it's like I think the vision is becoming clearer, right? There's a focus, there's a little bit more focus, and there's a little bit more and maybe I don't know, maybe I just wasn't seeing it, because
It's very
we had the
interesting the
Oracle.
dichotomy of that.
Yeah, yeah. Mark Sizzle, the Oracle. I was looking, I was trying to dig through our old videos to find where that was. I was going to clip it, post it on socials and stuff. And but we'll see if I can get to it before this episode's published.
It was one of the very first Curtis episodes because I remember him being in there, and we
Yeah.
had talked about it
Yep.
before that, but it was one of the first ones with him, and that was it's so interesting to me because I just felt like it was so clear to me, and I saw that, and I felt like I was pitching it to you guys on the show, like, in such a clear manner, and I don't think you and Curtis was kinda halfway between, and you were definitely on the opposite side of it,
Oh yeah.
and I also think that, you guys feel so strongly about the brand, not that I don't, but I could detect that you felt so strongly about the brand that maybe you were very upset about the way they were going, at the time, like many people online, right? That's totally normal. And maybe that's why like you were hung up a bit. But to me, I was like, all right,
So
I guess this is where they're going.
So I think here's my biggest concern, and it still is. We were just talking about how it's like, oh, if something brings in more money, the more money it brings in, the more money it gets put into it, right? So
Hmm.
with this strategy, right, like there becomes less and less of an argument to buy the console, right? And like
Hmm.
Xbox console is the experience that I personally prefer, and a lot of the user base does, right? They just want that console that goes under their television. The Xbox Series X as a console, as a piece of hardware, is excellent. It's probably the best console they've launched in its time, right? Like, I mean, the 360 is pretty great. The Xbox original Xbox was even an awesome piece of hardware for its time, right? But but like uh if the hardware is not bringing in the money, right? And it's, like, and not the hardware itself, right? Like, because obviously they don't make a whole lot of money on the units, the hardware
Hmm.
sold, which is probably also part of the why they want to go away from that direction a little bit. Like, they
Yep.
want to increase is like, we could have better returns on just the platform on existing on other devices, right? The hardware doesn't provide the money. The
Yep.
hardware just provides a place for the platform to exist. And I think
Yep.
that core will always exist, but it's like, if as that dwindles, right? As the platform becomes more um
Dispersed and
yeah,
away from the core console. Yep. Keep going.
what kind of R&D goes into the development of the console, and does Sony or does PlayStation, where it's like that is still the core, the center of their platform is the console, is the console's very tied to that, married to that.
Hmm.
um is Sony now just going to just kind of take leaps ahead of Xbox in terms of what their console development is, their hardware development is like, and maybe Xbox doesn't care, but Xbox players do, right?
Mm, yeah, I think traditional Xbox players do.
Right.
And
And it's like, if there's only 20
I
million.
also just I just
Go ahead.
also don't think it's that big of a deal, right? Like it's gonna hurt. You're like, this is what I do. I buy the Xbox console, I play these games. But does it really matter what sticker is on the front of that box? Does it
It
matter?
does. It does if I have to pay $70 for the game, or if I can pay $20, a month for my whole family to play.
Well, why wouldn't you
Or
be able to? You're just saying like I think you're
versus
kind of going
PlayStation.
down the path. You're like an Xbox is not going to exist ever again. That's your
No,
big
no, no, no,
fear,
no,
right?
no, no, no. I think it will, but will it be the best place to play Xbox games?
Well, you don't care about that already. You play Switch games. You don't care about anything higher than 30 frames per second. So I think that's not a valid I'm not gonna say you're not having a valid concern, but it's almost disingenuous because you self-proclaim you don't care about those
Sure.
things.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have the Series X, and maybe that's probably primarily because of the disk drive. If the Series S had a disk drive, I probably
Yeah,
would have bought and it's just like,
yeah,
so there's something about that, right? Even and it's like, maybe does Xbox even have a disk drive and I feel like
probably
it does,
not.
just if anything, for backwards compatibility, right?
That's a good
They
point, yep.
they've been touting this for so long, right? As a part of their strategies, backwards compatibility and game preservation. It's like, what happens if they no longer allow you to play those games with the physical disc, right? But
Um,
so I guess that's probably part of it too, is like, um honestly, that might be, maybe that's where it's rooted, is like
mhm,
that's where I can play these physical discs. And if you go away from this, and it's like, now Xbox isn't the console itself isn't even one of the better places to play Xbox. It's just a place to play Xbox. And it's like, but I like that access. I have, I think, two Xbox Series games on disc,
yeah, yeah.
but um so I don't know,
Old man
maybe.
yells at cloud.
Huh?
I said old man yells at cloud.
Yeah, yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Um, no,
I've
but
been too
all
much
right,
lately.
let me ask you this. So, I don't know if you've been tracking these rumors, but they've been talked about more on a couple different YouTube places that I watch, including Spawn, which you watch. So, Phil and Sarah Bond, Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, and the Xbox team say that their next piece of hardware is going to be the biggest technological leap they've ever, like what they would call like revolutionary technological leap. So, and there's strong rumors that they are going to go the Microsoft type Windows route where the OS, the Xbox ecosystem or OS becomes the product in a way, right? So they'll have this think Steam machine. So anybody that's a PC gamer, think how Steam machines came and they had the Steam OS that Lenovo could build one or Asus could build one. Um, but then Steam also had like, here's the, this is like the core model or whatever.
Yeah.
I think what might happen here, putting two and two together, the technological leap and going that OS like licensing route. Again, putting on more platforms, more options for more players. So you could have the cheap Lenovo, the expensive Asus. I think that Xbox, their next hardware is going to be like a pro type console. Like they're going to push it to the max, and this thing's going to be super expensive. But then they're going to have licensed out versions with other companies that are more affordable.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I was trying to figure out what direction you were going to go with that.
How do you
Um,
feel about that? And what was the other direction you were thinking?
uh, Man, I've already that threw me off. And now, so let me think. All right, I'm going to expand on the licensing. Um, I don't know. So we talked. There was like Steam Machine. That was how did that? That didn't do too great. I think the handheld
Yeah,
thing, right?
I think that's
Um,
a gut reaction, by the way, by the Steam Machine thing. I knew when I said that, and when people hear this on the video, and be like, "Well, that did terrible, so this is a
right,
terrible
right.
idea." I don't
But
think
we're
that's
also in
fair.
we're in a
It's a little
different time.
different. Yeah, very
Yeah.
different.
It's just like so maybe not, right? But like
Mhm.
I do think a couple things, right? And that does give me some hope. Actually gonna expand on this for a second, that Xbox
Yep.
does continue to really invest in what their hardware is
Mhm.
that, like you said, the pro version, like maybe they do want the Xbox console is still the best place to be, and it's like it. And maybe the what it is now the Xbox console is no longer subsidized and costs as much as it once was, right?
Mhm.
As consoles traditionally have, because they have been the only place to play on the platform. And you get this Xbox. We just saw the PS5 Pro launch, right? A discless
Mhm.
digital edition PS5 Pro launch at $700.
Yep.
And so, maybe the best place to play Xbox is the Xbox console for $800.
Yes. Yep.
And at that point, you're right. I probably don't care if I'm playing on the best place.
Right. Right.
It's like I don't need to spend it. At that point, I will maybe just I don't know. I probably I see a future for me is owning a Nintendo console and
Mhm.
owning the Nintendo hybrid, because it's like, I mean, for the foreseeable future Nintendo is sticking to the Switch concept, right? And
Yep.
then a non Nintendo hybrid, right? Like I
Okay.
have the Steam Deck right now, and it's
You're
it's
hybrid
hybrid.
only.
Yeah, yeah. It's because like
Guy out
the
here
handheld.
talking about the best place to play, and he's going two hybrids.
Whoa, 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 whoa. For me, the best place to play is something that I can put in my hands or on my television.
That is fair, but you were talking like specs before. Let's be real.
It's like, listen, the goalposts are where I want to put them, but it's um, but I've been learning from my son that you can just change the rules of the game at any point.
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah. Oh yeah. Parenting will do that to you.
so uh oh man, got me talking in circles. You've got me like just eating my own words. I don't like what you said before. But where's ATV? I want to talk Nintendo again. But
Yeah.
but no, uh I think this is also because of where the direction is heading. It's not necessarily where I want it to go. Like the
Mhm.
reason I'm going this direction is because it's the direction I want to go, but it's the direction that, like, of what's becoming available to me. This is the direction I will take. Right.
Mhm.
And but I mean, Phil talked about, that an Xbox handheld is coming. It seems like, in an interview with Bloomberg. And there was what the but that's where we're coming, or the handheld's coming. So I don't know, maybe that's where I'll play. But I do hope to see that have that not to be limited to the Xbox platform, right? Because there's also been the talk about that, right? Like about, he's mentioned specifically Epic Game Store. Phil has mentioned
Mhm.
Epic Game Store and itch.io. But if you're able to download other storefronts and stuff onto stinking handheld, like an Xbox handheld, that's probably where I go. And
Yeah, yeah,
I've been building quite a library of free Epic games. So it's
yeah.
just like and I think, like Steam was not mentioned, and I don't see why Gabe and Steve Valve would not necessarily want to have their storefront on an Xbox handheld, but like if Epic goes and either like gives some level, gives Xbox a check to have some exclusivity for the storefront on there, which I don't know if that goes through in terms of like the FCC or whatever,
Mhm.
but that would that would be a good push for Epic Game Store, right?
Yeah.
Epic has been trying to get some kind of traction for several years now at this point on developing their storefront to compete with Steam, and they haven't had any. But I think this probably provides some. But man,
And
people love their Steam. Go ahead.
Xbox and Epic have a good relationship too.
Yeah,
So,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
and um, yeah, I don't know. What do you have any other thoughts? I'm just kind of talking to
You're
whatever's
fine.
coming across
No,
my
it's
mind.
I I think it's a good strategy. If it's me in control of the business, I'm looking at PlayStation. They're a powerhouse. They're a juggernaut. We fumbled the bag last generation. We're fumbling the bag this generation. We can't win by playing the same game. Does that make sense? Like
Mm.
even in a sports analogy, like in basketball, how kind of like the Warriors and stuff change the way the game was played, or you think about like Moneyball, in baseball. It's like okay, we can't beat them at their own game. They're just kicking us. They're just kicking our
Right.
butts, right? So we got to change the rules of the game. We got to change how we play the game. And that's what Xbox is doing. And so like,
This
is
is
it going to
a
work? It might not.
Right. Right. This is a
But
callback to the infamous kind of funny interview that Phil had with kind of funny after Redfall came out. And we can't just put out good games and win or whatever. Like
yeah,
we can't just put out good games and get new Xbox players or something, like whatever he said. It's just like, what do you just say? You just don't like good Xbox games isn't going to build a platform, because that's what people heard.
yeah,
But
yeah. It's
um,
tough, right? Because by playing by the rules of the game, you have to get them in your ecosystem. So he's right to a point. I mean, as funny as it is to meme it and stuff, like you could put out 10 great games, but if the image, the idea, the thought, the vibe, to use current generation terms, isn't
yeah,
there, and they don't come in that one front door, maybe two, Series S, Series X, or if you want to count PC for some of those games. But really, if they don't come in that one front door, you're not selling games. And that
yeah.
front door is freaking broken, and it's been broken. So now they got to change it and make multiple doors to get people in. And that's what they're doing.
This strategy is something that I get on board with as an Xbox player, way more than the multi-plat strategy. And
Ooh, let's talk about that a little bit. No red
okay,
lines. Go
yeah.
ahead.
So Phil also said in this Bloomberg interview, like you said, that there are no red lines and stuff, and it's I don't want to say that I'm like completely opposed to it or whatever. And it's like the strategy is as many players as to make as many of their games to available to many as players as possible, kind of thing, right? And that's by
Mhm.
going with multiplayer. And it's like, um, and maybe I do kind of like it going to Switch, but or whatever, because I'm a Nintendo kid. But honestly, I don't know that that's necessarily true. But I like playing Xbox games on Xbox, and um, but I think that this to me is like the this is an Xbox marketing and strategy is still, this is the Xbox platform, right? Like the Xbox platform is existing everywhere versus, like to me, this is becoming a third party publisher with their multi-platform strategy, which is less so that this is an Xbox. This is an Xbox is focused on the first party strategy, right? And
Mhm.
that's the ecosystem that I'm a part of. So it's like I love the idea of being. I do actually love the idea of being able to play my Xbox games anywhere. Um,
Mhm.
but like I can't play my Xbox games on a PlayStation or the Nintendo Switch. I have to go buy a PlayStation game that is made by Xbox to play at Xbox. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it and it PlayStation and Nintendo do compete as platforms with Xbox. All three of these platforms compete with each other,
Mhm.
as well as Steam. But Steam's like a complete. We'll just ignore the PC argument right now.
Yeah, anomaly to this argument.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely. And so to me that takes away because it's like it's supporting, especially when we look at PlayStation, right? PlayStation takes its revenue that it makes from the games that are sold on its platform to per, to give third party developers more money to keep their games exclusive to the PlayStation platform. So
Mhm.
Xbox is putting their games on a platform that gives that takes that money that they make from the Xbox games that are on their platform to give other developers money to keep
Exclusivity deals.
them
Yep.
from putting games on the Xbox platform. And to
Right.
me, that's the issue I have with the multiplayer strategy, and I think that's probably why
That it's
also
not a two-way street, essentially, right? It's a
right.
one-way street in
Yeah,
that regard.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And we're not getting PlayStation games. I think there's a future. Like I think in the future we do start seeing PlayStation games at some point. Like I think this exclusive strategy, and I think like like Xbox is trailblazing right now, and they're feeling the pains of that, right? Like they have to
Yeah.
chop down all the weeds to get through this. And Nintendo will just kind of exist on their island for a long time. But
Mhm.
I think we'd certainly see PlayStation here at some point. We're already seeing it, right? Lego Horizon just launched on the Nintendo Switch, right? And it's
Yeah.
not on the Xbox, but it's like we are seeing PlayStation say it like maybe we do have to become more available to more players because we have to get more revenue somehow, and more
Yeah.
revenue is only going to come by being accessible to more players. And it's just like at some point, I think PlayStation will decide that, it especially again if everything is an Xbox, now your platform, there's 35 million or whatever Xbox series out there. And then there's maybe,
Mm.
70 million Xbox console players or whatever between the previous generations.
Yep.
Um, but if Xbox is now, if there are all of a sudden 100 million, 200 million Xbox players, whether it's through xCloud or through
Mhm.
PC or
You
through
can't
just
ignore that
handheld,
market.
yeah, now it's like PlayStation's like, well, crap.
That's what
Maybe
I
we do.
yeah.
If Xbox has 150 million players, we could sell 10 million copies of a game alone on Xbox, and it's like that's not a number that can be ignored.
Exactly. And that's what I'm getting at. It's like when you look at it in a micro view, it's painful, especially as an Xbox player. But when you look at that macro big picture, take it out, you can kind of see, yes, there's this little painful part in the road, but then all of a sudden you've changed the rules of the game. Everybody else has got to play by those rules, and that's one of the things that they have to do. Is you like you said, you can't ignore the profitability chance of an additional 10 million players, additional 20 million players. Like you can't. And how do you do that with your board, shareholders, all that type of stuff? Um, you know, you got to go after that. So I think as gamers, we're very entitled. And we feel very strongly about our platforms, and we're convicted about the games and the things we like. And we go to post online, especially if you're somebody that watches this show or other shows. You're obviously very into games, much more than the average person. So you are going to feel very strongly about this stuff. But I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to work out for these guys. Just some growing pains on this. The no red lines is interesting, so we'll see if that happens with Gears or Halo or anything like that. But I get the concern that it's not a two-way street currently, right? Because they can pour in that exclusivity. But if Xbox is getting more platforms, if their platform becomes bigger than PlayStation's by extension, those exclusivity deals might not happen, right? Because Sony has to keep offering more money then. So if Sony goes to Square Enix
Yeah,
or whoever, and they say, "Hey, we'll give you," I'm just making up a number, $1 million to put it on our platform only, and they Square Enix or whatever developer has to decide, okay, Xbox only has 500,000 players. These guys have 2 million. Again, these are made up numbers. Okay,
right.
that makes sense. Like the money we're missing out on Xbox is made
Is a
up
lot less.
Yes, and it's made up for in the exclusivity deal plus the sales, right? So we're
Right.
cool. But all of a sudden, as this Xbox player base climbs up because you're playing on the fridge, you're playing on the cat box, I'm joking, but whatever, you're playing on these platforms. You can't ignore this as a
Yeah.
developer. Yeah, sure, Sony, I'll do you exclusive, but you're going to triple the price, and all Sony can't keep up with that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, right? The more places that like you said that Xbox is available, the more players that they have, that can buy third party games on this Xbox platform, have access to on the Xbox platform, is it just it's a direct, you know
Counter. It's a direct
yeah,
counter to
yeah,
that,
yeah,
and that has been
yeah,
the long-standing thing in the console war,
yeah,
and that's where
absolutely.
Xbox can't keep up.
As the gap is furthered, right, it just makes it like easier and easier. It's like it's just been this terrible cycle that Xbox, like I said, they had to get creative. They had to take chances, risks. They had to do something different to break this cycle of PlayStation just furthering and furthering the gap. And then the more they further the gap, the cheaper it is for them to money hat third party exclusives.
Exactly.
And then
And then it
the more
drives
they
the
have,
narrative and the vibe because they're like,
Xbox has to
Xbox
make.
doesn't no fighting games. That's kind of true. You don't have those no JRPGs. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They can't get out of it. So they can't keep going through the cycle. They had to step sideways out of it. And I think I've converted you because now I see it's clicking in the way you're talking.
Um, Yeah, yeah, I know, and I'm just like, gosh dang it, like, yeah, leave some hate comments or some for me, no, maybe not hate comments, but just clown me in the comments, about how where I've been talking in circles in terms of what I think is the right direction and everything. But I mean, there is a lot of complexity and nuance to it, right? And it's not just like as simple as one statement of this is good or this is bad. But you're right in terms of the balance for me. I think is probably shifting in terms of and it's like especially it has over the last several months, right? Like you said, one of those early episodes with Curtis where I was just like this. Well, that was more toward the multi-plat strategy.
Yeah.
Um, but this one makes a lot more sense, and it's like I'm slowly moving more and more toward like being able to see what their vision is and thinking that like I think they're heading in a direction that maybe whether or not it's the best direction for the industry or for the player, it's probably the best direction it's a direction that Xbox has to take for the business to be successful, considering the decisions that they have made and they have done, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
just
they've messed themselves up, right? They did that with the Xbox One and the TV push and stuff. And really they were probably just too early to that. They kind of maybe had the right idea, but they were generation too early. Um, but yeah, they didn't have a choice because we're gonna see this dwindle. For the Xbox to survive, they had to do that. Or
yeah.
something anyway. Maybe not this, but something different. We are approaching 2 hours. Do you want to just chat? Maybe we wrap it up with the news about the game show awards, and discuss that, or do you want to? What do you want to do?
Yeah, yeah. We can have a little bit of talk about it. I was gonna say, like, do you want to record something quick, like off the episode? But I don't know what happened to my screen. I had an
Maybe
image to bring up. Go ahead.
maybe we chat about it on here for 10 to 15 minutes or
Yeah,
something, and
yeah, we'll
then
do it.
we could do a separate video too once the actual nominations come out. Um, so maybe what I'll do first is pull up an image about the announcement that we talked about in regards to Elden Ring, and then we'll pull
Yep.
up your image with the actual potentials. Cool. So by the time this episode drops, the news will be like 2 days old. But Keeley and the crew, whoever's involved in that crew, came out and said, "Hey, Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree, big DLC, critically acclaimed, is allowed. It's eligible for Game of the Year." And basically, I think in the interview or the post, it said, there's no rules really. Everything's pretty much eligible. So I guess yes, technically it is a game, so it could be game of the year. But I don't know how you feel about this. I think you're gonna be pretty against it. So what are your thoughts on having a big DLC up for game of
Certainly,
the
yeah.
year?
So yeah, about a year ago, right, we had some conversation about I mean RE4 remake and like whether remasters or remakes can be consider should be eligible for game of the year. And probably Phantom Liberty might have been a part of that conversation. And yeah, I still, yeah, I mean, it's, for me, it is game of the year. It's not expansion of the year, right? It is a new game that released in that year. It's not a game that's like that was already made. And part of this is, so this furthers my argument from last year, which I was just like, so what happens if Resident Capcom just decides to make a Resident Evil 4 remake and reboot every year, and it's good, like, should Resident Evil 4 be able to be game of the year? And there was probably some good arguments if it's the best game that came out that year, maybe. um but, like, again, to me, Elden Ring isn't a game. Or I'm sorry, Elden Ring is a game. Shadow of the Erd Tree is not a game. It's an
Is also a
expansion.
game. It is a game, but
It's
I
not,
mean,
it's
you
a
play
no,
it
no,
right
no.
with a controller.
I mean, no, it's an
I'm being
expansion.
pedantic, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's an
yeah.
but it is a massive expansion, right?
Sure. Um, but like, would a hit single be a part of, that's a part of an album, be up for album of the year? No, it's up for single of the year, right?
Yeah. So you're right. I think I agree with you, but I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit.
Sure.
So Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom started out as a big DLC to Breath of the Wild, and they said, "Wow, this thing's so big, let's make it its own game." And we talked about this in the episode before. So to me, in this devil's advocate, if you take a Tears of the Kingdom and you literally just change the label, call it Breath of the Wild Part 2 or DLC or whatever, same game, massive size, similar to Shadow of the Erdtree, massive, massive in size, right? Just labeled differently. Does that change your opinion? Like, would Zelda not be
So
allowed to get it? Because it's just a
if
label. You call it what you
if
want.
if this was Elden Ring New Vegas, it wasn't, right? So, because I would argue that Fallout New Vegas was eligible for should have been eligible for Game of the Year, but really it was just used Fallout 3 assets, right? I mean, Obsidian did it compared to, but it's just like,
Yeah.
it's a it could be argued that that is just a massive expansion, right? In a similar way to Shadow or Tree or Phantom Liberty, possibly.
Mhm.
Huh. Um, no, that's a
Right,
that's a good point.
like
For me,
it's a title, right? Like, I
right.
get, like, I don't know, whatever, give me
So
some random DLC that's small, like, yeah, that makes sense, and then I think people get stuck on the, "Well, it's DLC, that doesn't count." It's like, well, if this
right.
game's freaking the same size as the original game,
If
and they
if
could
this
have made this a new game,
if this was
and
a
they
standalone expansion, right? Like,
yeah.
or something that, like, if I didn't have to play Elden Ring to play this game. Yeah, so it's not a game because it's an expansion, right? I have to play Elden Ring. It's not like, oh, you should play Elden Ring to play Shadow of the Erdtree. No, you have to play the base game Elden Ring
Yeah, that's
to
true.
get to Shadow of the Erdtree. And that's probably the strong differentiator for me, because, like, I think of Xenoblade Chronicles had Torna, um and that was, I believe, a standalone expansion, and that was probably 40 hours because Xenoblade are huge games, so I'm sure a small
Mhm.
expansion would be 30 hours, right? um,
Yeah.
of gameplay. And it's like, that obviously, that in terms of like what that offers, I mean, maybe it was some people's game of the year, because there's some big Xenoblade fans and stuff out there, but, like, this is a little bit more of like a mass appeal. There's still part of me that, like, argues that even the Torna wouldn't be considered the game of the year, but I think that makes a stronger argument, because I can go buy that Torna. I can't remember the full name of it, but the Xenoblade standalone expansion without buying Xenoblade 2 and play it.
Yeah, that's true. That is a good point. And I looked this up while you were talking because you brought up the times. How long to beat says 50 hours for Elden Ring and 25 and a half for Shadow of the Earth Tree. So it's around half the size, but that's still it's substantial, right?
Right. And I mean, you look at Assassin's Creed Mirage last year was somewhat of if I'm not mistaken, was somewhat of an standalone expansion to um Valhalla, right? Like, because I believe there was
Mhm.
maybe a portion of Valhalla that you played that was like, and then they expanded upon that in Mirage, and it was it was a fraction of the gameplay. It was probably even like based on percentage, because I think Valhalla is like a 110-hour game, and I think Mirage is like a 25-hour game, right? So it's like, but it was still its own game. Um, but and it's like that was should just have been eligible. So I honestly I think I think the big thing for me is if like, because like Elden Ring Shadow of Erdtree could have came out as as a standalone spin-off game or something, or just like again, like I'll make the Fallout New Vegas comparison, or you, like you said, or but I don't know. That probably makes a stronger argument. I think actually, I mean, I certainly would say that it's eligible, but I think because you have to like it's a part of what Elden Ring is. It's not its own. It doesn't stand itself on its own 2 feet, right? It doesn't set itself apart from Elden Ring. It is a part of
Right.
Elden Ring, so it's not a new
Right.
game.
Yeah, and I get that. I think that's fair, and that's probably the way I lean. But for the sake of argument, I do think that's interesting to think about, especially
Yeah,
the Zelda, because we know it was an expansion, right? And then they're like, "Well, let's just make it a new game."
yeah,
But
but I mean,
and
how
there
many?
was a ton of content, to be fair. Like
Yeah,
they did make it a new game, but it is literally
Silk Song,
based off of
Silk
Breath of the
Song,
Wild.
right? Silk Song is the same thing.
We don't know yet, but yeah, probably.
Silk Song did start out as a
Oh,
DLC,
did
and
it?
then yeah, and the
Okay.
ideas just kept blowing up, blowing up. They're like, this has got to be its own thing.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
and
Um,
now it's taken longer than Hollow Knight itself took to develop, probably.
yeah. So there is precedent for this. So 7 years ago, Witcher 3 Blood and Wine DLC, considered to be one of the best DLCs ever for any game, by many people, won Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and from several other outlets. I think I had 7 or 8 total Game of the
wait,
Year
wait, what?
awards. Yep.
No, what year was this?
This would have been 2016. Oh, best RPG. Sorry.
I was gonna say that did not win Game of the Year.
Sorry.
2016.
Sorry, but best RPG.
Okay.
I'll take
Yeah.
my
So,
hit, my L for
and
that.
did
But
Phantom Liberty?
would you even let it do that? No, Phantom Liberty won best continuing game, which I think is
Oh,
bullcrap.
Cyberpunk won it for Phantom Liberty. Okay. Yeah, I
I don't think
think
a DLC is a continuing game. I think that's some crap
yeah,
from last year too, because
right.
you took the category away from games that really were continuing and updated like every week and every month.
Yeah. They have there's a few categories in the Game Awards that are like that just kind of feel like a um just a mix mash of just like, oh, this is leftover stuff that this is the best place we can think to put it, and it's just like it
But
doesn't really make sense.
even best role playing game of the year for Blood and Wine um, beat out other RPGs, and that was a DLC, a good sized one for the time that it came out. But
Yeah, was that standalone?
no, you had to.
It
I mean,
didn't
you
have.
install it to Witcher 3, and then you would go
Okay.
do this like side mission
Okay.
essentially.
Yeah, I couldn't remember because like uh like Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon was like
Mm.
standalone. And, I guess I just mixed those up because they blood and 3. They're part of the third game, and I get whatever. But yeah, I mean I'm
Oh, and he dropped out. He totally disconnected. Um. Oh, he's back. He's back. He dropped for a
oh,
second.
oh no. Okay, my bad. Um sorry. I don't know what you missed or how long I was out, but uh
Like 5 seconds.
okay. But yeah, so it's like Jeff, you can put a category in there that says best expansion, right? Like or
I don't
um
understand why they don't do that. I don't get it.
right. And it's like, and it's like probably a standout each year that makes the most sense. And there's an argument that you could put best remake, right? Or remaster slash remake.
Yeah.
And but it's like I don't know, maybe it's like not every year is going to have you could say that like not every year is going to have some standout. Like last year was RE4 and Dead Space came out. It's like, but this year it's like remake Silent Hill, right?
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 7. Now Final Fantasy 7 is a tough one too, because it's like That's
Yeah.
borderline no, I wouldn't call it reboot because it is the same story, but they even made some significant changes to the
No,
story.
they made
It's
significant
retelling the story
changes,
in a
yeah.
completely different way. Um, I think, yeah, and it's like, I mean, yeah, I don't know. You could make a pretty strong, easy argument. You could convince 7 remake games are eligible for Game of the Year, but
Yeah.
it's almost like its own whole new tier of, it needs a different name other than remake, right? But but like something like Silent Hill 2, which is really just like expanded a few things, but it's mostly the same game. And we didn't get Metal Gear Solid Delta this year, right?
Mm-mm.
That's still hasn't come out yet. I'm not a big Metal Gear guy, but it's like there's precedent at least to say like each year you're getting remakes. Like, yeah, but
Yeah.
like maybe it's like, oh, what if there isn't any remakes? There's going to be a remake every year. Like,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
I
At
mean, the
this point,
last year
there
there
has
was
to be.
definitely some kind of remaster or remake that was, like worth talking about.
Yeah,
Um,
and a quick comment on that is, historically in the game industry, companies would get by and fund their tentpole games by doing ports. They would do port work or contract work and work on a very small piece of a game. So you would often see like even Bethesda, like this studio would work on some portion of something, right? Or they would publish it or port it.
Mhm.
And now I think that's moving more towards remakes and remasters. So they're not doing the
Right.
porting work. They're like getting this. Okay, we'll pick up this project to remaster, blah blah blah, and that's going to give us the experience, the reputation, and the money to then come and do a game, their own game. And we've seen that with a few studios. I'll probably say the
Yeah, I
wrong
mean,
ones, but like
well, Bloober Team, right?
Bloober, yes, thank you. So,
Yeah. I mean, they've done some of their own games that have had mixed reception, right? But like the the Silent Hill was really a way for them to really like lift the booster reputation, right?
yeah,
Because that was a game that was like people were kind of like had very low expectations. Konami apparently was not marketing that game very well in
yeah.
terms of showing it. They just weren't showing they weren't showing it off very well. And Bloober Team was like, no, we promise it's good. And they're like, yeah, sure it is, Blueberry, because you've done great things before. And then um yeah, and then it came out and it's been really well received. So that now it's like, oh, maybe Blooper Team can do something good, right? And then
Yeah.
it was a good time for them. I think they announced that their next project, Chronos or something like that.
Mhm.
But
Here,
yeah, no, it's
I'm gonna pull up your image too while we're talking. So,
oh yeah. So uh something like Final Fantasy 7, I think could be eligible. I think it's weird to have Erdtree.
did you
Again,
make this graphic?
no, I pulled it from Polygon, I believe.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, cool, nice. Yeah, Polygon. All right.
But yeah, I guess I should give credit to Polygon. But yeah, so I guess we can roll into what we think will get nominated. And honestly, we'll just start off with Erdtree. Do you think Erdtree will be nominated?
100%. So they literally changed these rules or made the citation of the rules the day before or day of the nomination things were being sent to the voters. Um, so I think it's going to get nominated. It'll probably win, honestly. And I think that's a
Wow.
shame. I don't think it's gonna, dude. The hype around Elden Ring for gamers and even the pundits and stuff in the industry
Yeah,
is
yeah,
so high, and it did really well. The meta isn't it the highest scoring, tied with AstroBot or something for Metacritic.
yeah. It's in the
Um,
90s. Like I don't know
yeah,
offhand.
I mean, I think it's open shut. It's gonna win. Unfortunately, it should be in like a DLC category probably. So, but what about you?
Wow. And I was on the marks. Like I was just gonna say, like you give me a little more information than I really had. I think coming into it, but I was gonna say that like probably not. Like, but like because it's like sure it can be allowed, but like are the hundred I think it's a board of 100 journalists or whatever that are
Hmm.
that make the nominations. Are they gonna lean into that? And I think I think it'll be a little bit. I don't think it'll be open and shut, or trade, just because I do think there is a little bit of controversy around it. So it's like you may get some, like you said, there are some strong, passionate fans for the Elden Ring and the Souls like and the FromSoft fan base, right? But I also think that there's a lot of like, should this even be considered and controversy. I think that's enough to at least make this. It's not a for sure deal. I think it's a relatively like coming out of 2024. This is not nearly as strong of a year
Yeah.
for other nominations, and I think we'll probably have a much stronger, possibly even stronger in 2024 next year. Or, I'm sorry, 2023. Last year 2023 is what I was talking about. It was a really strong year. I
Yeah.
think 2025 is shaping up to possibly be even bigger and stronger than 2023 was. Um, but so this would I could see this as being a little bit of a down year and possibly getting it. We have a game here that's on this graphic that I have here in the middle, Dragon Age Veilguard. It's like really debatable whether that'll, I think that's this year's Starfield where it's like, will it be in there? And it's like, it has the legacy of BioWare and all this stuff, but it's like it's not quite
I don't even see it in the top. I'm looking at the Metacritic and I don't even see where it's at.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
which is
not even in
kind of
like the
funny.
top 10 or something.
I'm sure Polygon put that in the image just to create the
The drama.
right, right. But yeah, so I don't know. It probably will be nominated because I haven't even thought of like what exactly 6 nominations there would be. And after 3 big ones, I could see this. I mean, Erdtree is probably the biggest piece of content to launch this year.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Yeah, you want me to I'll read off the, top Metacritics really quick to you. So,
Sure.
Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree's 95, number 1. Astrobot's number 2 at 94. Metaphor ReFantazio is 94 at number 3. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a 92, number 4. Number 5 is this looks like Castlevania Dominus Collection. I don't know if that's really gonna count.
Yeah.
Next one is a 92, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Um, SMT, whatever number
Vengeance.
is
Yeah,
next.
5 vengeance.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
92.
that's like the royal treatment of
Okay,
SMT5.
gotcha. Tekken 8 at a 91, UFO 50 at a 91, Animal Well at a 91, Satisfactory at a 91, Balatro at 90, Destiny 2 Final Shape, which I think will win best DLC, is 90, Pentiment 90. Did
Oh,
Pentiment come
best
out this
DLC.
year?
Isn't Shadow Virtue the best DLC?
Yeah, but
DLC?
if it wins the
That's not going
Game of
game.
the Year, I'd be
Yeah, but a
really
lot of times,
pissed if it wins both.
a
That
lot
would
of
be
times,
annoying.
game of the year, right? Like game of the year doesn't. Baldur's Gate 3 won several things last year, right? Or a lot of times you
Yeah,
know,
but is it
um,
gonna win DLC and Game of the Year? That would be a slap in the face,
I
I
don't.
feel like.
Is there a DLC? Is there a best DLC? I don't think there is a best DLC.
Oh, ongoing game, which is where they put
Ongoing game,
Cyberpunk last year.
right? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. That would be,
Yeah.
but it's like it's not whether or not they put it there, right? Like Jeff just reads off the whatever the results are. So it's like
Yeah.
really the pundits have all the control in terms of, I mean, 90% of the control, right, of what gets put there. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I think there's such a big cult following for Elden Ring and for Final Fantasy that those will be pretty strong.
Yeah. So let's give. I think we have. So we said Erdtree probably at least gets nominated. You think it wins probably. Um, I would say there's probably 3 more games that we think are locks for at least nomination, right?
Mhm.
That we could say that are actually in this graphic, right? We have Astrobot, Final Fantasy,
Mhm.
Rebirth, Seven Rebirth, and Metaphor. I think are all
Yep.
locks,
Yep.
right? So
So
that's
that's
four
4.
four of the 6. What's another one for you?
Ugh. I don't know, man. I'm looking at the just going off the Metacritic. I have a hard time believing that they'll put Like a Dragon or something, any of these other
Yeah,
games in there.
I agree. I think like a dragon is a tough, like it's like, oh yeah, and it does well and that has its fan base, but and it's growing and everything and it's better than it's ever been. But I just don't think it's quite there as a people see it as a game of the year. I think all part of that is also because there's a new Yakuza, Like a Dragon, whatever, that universe has a new game every like year.
Yeah.
So it's in the same way that like, do you think Call of Duty has a chance of getting nominated? If there was a year in the last decade that Call of Duty had a chance, this is probably it, right?
Yeah, probably, but I don't think it does.
Right. Yep.
Balatro, I mean, as I look down the Metacritic scores, I mean, Balatro's a 90. It's new, it's unique. I can see that
So
being nominated, but only it's gonna win Indie Game of the Year probably, but it gets nominated for Game of the Year.
there's some competition. You read off another indie game in there that has a higher Metacritic score than
Animal
Balatro. Yeah.
Animal, yeah.
Yeah. But I think Joker. I think Balatro had a bigger I think it had a bigger reach.
What about man, this I pulled up the Polygon article you're looking at, and it says Game of the Year front runner number one AstroBot, but that's
Uh,
probably before they knew about this Shadow of the the Shadow of the Erdtree
right, right,
ruling.
right. Yeah.
Um,
Which is it's wild to me. Yeah, I guess
what
Mario
about
Odyssey got nominated and it lost to Breath of the Wild.
yeah? What
uh,
about Dragon's Dogma 2? Not good enough. Not
so I
mainstream enough.
don't think so because we have 2 spots left, right? And Dragon's Dogma is kind of not like it was hot for the couple weeks that it after it launched, and I think it just fell off pretty quick. It's kind of like to me, like last year we had like Jedi Survivor, right? And it's just kind of like did that get nominated? That might have even got nominated. But I think there were more solid games this year, maybe than last year, but last year was so top loaded.
It
Um
was BG3, Alan Wake 2, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, Tears of the Kingdom, Resident Evil 4, and Spider-Man 2 last year.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So yeah, Jedi Survivor kind of fell off, and
Yeah,
Dragon's Dogma is kind of going to have a similar
yeah.
fate.
Give
So
me
one
your
thing,
dark horse. Give me your dark horse to go into the nomination. One or two dark
wait.
horses.
Well, first off, I'm gonna give you one I think will be there that I'm gonna kind of pull the
Ooh,
rug out
okay,
under your feet. It's
okay.
Black Myth Wukong.
Oh, that's my dark horse.
Yeah, I'm like sitting there. I was like, this guy talked. You came on the episode talking about how much Black Myth you played
Yeah,
and how good it was, and like just had so much praise to say. And I was like, you're talking about like, that now. I can understand why maybe you were withholding it, but I was just like,
yeah,
like I'm glad I said it. You responded that way because I was like, I'm gonna pull the rug out from under you here. So,
yeah, yeah.
and it makes me feel the satisfaction that I did. But um, yeah.
What about Space Marine 2? That's my other dark horse since you took a one I
Oh,
had.
okay. Yeah, no, I think that had a strong chance. So I think about was Street Fighter this year? Street Fighter was not this year. That was
It
last
was
year, right?
Tekken this year, I think.
Yeah, Tekken, which like it's I feel like fighting game could have its own category almost, but probably not because it's probably just going to be anyway. I think Tekken 8 is kind of the same way. Like it's not quite Yakuza because it doesn't come out each year or whatever. But I think it doesn't. I don't think it's like a Forza game, right? It just doesn't
Right.
like the racing games, the fighting games. They just don't get that GOTY nod. Um, I'm gonna say probably Space Marine or Balatro would
Hmm.
be my best guess. Um, and dark horse. I had a dark horse, and now I just uh, I forgot what it was. So I'm gonna keep thinking. But so yeah, what do you think? I mean, do you think so? You think Black Myth will be there?
Yeah, I think that's my
So
dark horse pick. I
that's
think
that's
take
five.
Dragon Age out of this image.
Yeah, right. Well, there's six, right? There's six total.
Yeah, so take Dragon Age out. Black Myth goes in there, and Shadow of the Erdtree is going to be in there, unfortunately.
Okay, so you think Balatro is the six or Space Marine?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. Oh. Um. So there's a franchise out there that's one of the most legacy storied franchises in the history of video games, right? That got a new release this year. Um, do you think
Which
Zelda
is
Echoes of Wisdom has a chance?
no, zero,
Was
zero. You probably feel the
Mario
same
Wonder
way
was
as much as you wanted in there, though.
yeah, Mario Wonder was nominated last year, right? You did say that?
Yes, yes.
Man, so it's wild to think like was mm, I do feel like Mario Wonder. So it's like I think about it like all right, there's 3D Mario, there's 2D Mario, there's 3D Zelda, there's 2D Zelda. I think 3D Zelda since Breath of the Wild has overtaken 3D Mario. I think 2D
Mm-hmm.
Mario is still like leaps and bounds ahead of 2D Zelda.
100%. They haven't figured it out yet. they haven't figured out that X factor yet with the 2D Zelda. They tried with this one, I think, and it's not like
Yeah.
it's bad, right? Like they're shooting
Yeah,
for the
it's
stars
a
and
good game.
landing, on the moon or whatever. But I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah,
backwards. But shoot for the
yeah.
moon
I
rather than
think,
stars.
and yeah, I agree, and I think they're working right. So like another thing to think of too is just like the top down Zeldas. I don't the 2D Zeldas didn't even make their debut on home consoles until the Switch, right?
Hmm.
And it was 2D Zeldas were always
Mobile.
limited to the handhelds,
Yep.
and where it's that's not the case for Mario. Maybe that's part of why, right? Like, so Mario has precedence and Mario has a storied history on the home consoles, which is going to generally get like lean more to those nods.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably like if there's a game from Nintendo this year, that would be the one. And I think it's just it falls short. Um,
Yeah.
and I think like Balatro just got a lot of love. Oh, so Helldivers. Do you think Helldivers just has fallen off? That's the another
I
one
think
of
it
those
fell
like
off. Too much controversy and change. I think it fell off. And it's also yeah. What about I'm curious to see where Hades 2 ends up because it's not fully out. I can't remember if there's
it is
a
eligible,
early access
right?
category, but I mean it's a great
No,
game.
yeah, yeah,
And
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 Keeley also said, just basically whatever's eligible. If it's a playable game, right? If it's playable, then it's eligible. That would be
and Hades 2 launched in early access with more content than Hades 1. Bigger game.
right.
And it wasn't even done. And they've gotten really far now. Like they're pretty close from their last update. I mean, it's still months away, but they're close. There's tons of stuff in the game.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. I think if something knocks Blasher out of here, it's gonna be Hades 2. I think we at least I think we see Hades 2 in the show, right? I
Yeah,
just
and
don't
the
know that we
indie.
see it. I just don't know that we see it yeah, in the game of the year nominations.
I wanna be surprised if, they do a date announcement for Hades 2 actually, like a full trailer. It's a good advertising opportunity to say, "Hey,
Yeah, yeah,
the
absolutely.
1.0 release is in, 1 month or whatever."
And that's what the show exists for, right? Is the
It's the ads, yeah, and the
marketing needs.
announcements. Yep.
Yeah, all the new trailers. So, yeah. So, wow, that's kind of a boring discussion there, right? I think we pretty much agree, both in full agreement that
Yeah,
it's
we need Curtis here so he can tell us no, then Space Marine's gonna
right.
win and
Space
Final
Marine's got to
Fantasy's
be
gonna win.
there, right?
Yeah.
um, yeah, next year, man, next year. I mean, so let's like you want to do way too early predictions for next year. Any or you we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, we probably should. It's 2 hours, 20 minutes, but, way too early prediction like, in 2025 nominees?
Yeah, way too early. Just game of the year prediction. We don't have to go into nominations, right?
Oh, okay, well, let me look at what's coming out.
If it's not GTA 6.
Okay, so okay, we'll just assume, like, if GTA 6 doesn't come out, then what?
Right, right, right.
I will say ooh, man, if Ghost of Yotai comes out next year, that's probably potential to win.
Okay.
Um, and Death Stranding 2, because they love Kojima.
Right.
And what about
Wild.
Rise of Hydra? No, you don't
No,
think
I don't
so?
think
No
so.
shot.
I don't think
Not
so.
even in the
I'm not
nomination.
yeah, I think that's it's too big of a year for just some kind of licensed IP to come in and get it. Um, like we got Monster Hunter Wild
From
coming out
Amy
too.
Hennig? Oh, yeah, Outer
We got well, I mean,
Wild
for me,
Stuff.
Avowed is what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Unannounced, Mario or 3D platformer Nintendo game on
Metroid Prime
unannounced
4.
hardware. Huh?
Metroid
Metro
Prime
Prime
4.
4. Metro Prime 4, which Metro Prime 4, I mean, that's probably going to get pretty high acclaim, right? Like
Yeah.
that's one that doesn't like that's not a huge seller, but it's big enough, and I think that outlets, the journalist outlets will like that one enough, right? Like if it comes from the pedigree of retro, I think Metroid Prime 4 stands a good chance, unless we see. I think we also there's a good chance we see a whatever the 3D Mario team, whatever they really. I don't want to say necessarily a 3D Mario game because it could be
Yeah.
Donkey Kong. It could be like a Mario family game, kind of like a like 3D World in the sense of like there's multiple playable characters. I do think we see some kind of 3D Mario team game next year, and I think I mean, maybe Nintendo gets 2 nods. I don't know in the nominations, but I think it's gonna be an exciting year next year. So I just wanted
Yeah. You got
just chime.
33 Immortals will be next year.
Oh yeah, that one looks good. No, not 33 Immortals, different one. Or no,
Expedition 33, Claire Obscura.
Obscure. Yeah, yeah, Claire
33
Obscure.
Immortals is the big multiplayer one.
Yeah, I've got the same thing. So
I do that every time. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I know that's kind of more niche, but that's a big one.
I think there's a lot of the people that are excited about that are very excited about it.
Yeah,
I picked up I picked up the first one recently. It was like $4 or something like that. I'd
yeah,
like to jump into it. It sounds like if I give it the time, it'd be my kind of game.
yeah. That Chronos game we mentioned earlier. There should be a new Pokemon Legends ZA.
Yeah.
First Berserker Kazan looked good. Maybe not Game of the Year, but yeah, there's a lot. So, all right, let's
Yeah.
get it wrapped up. I'm gonna pop this down. Any last minute plugs or anything you want to do before we sign off?
Yeah, I've been a little active on our not Twitter and create a Blue Sky account. So
Yeah,
maybe we'll link those or whatever in the description. I mean, I'm not super active or anything on there, but just been a little bit, during between episodes on there. And yeah, hopefully, like next week. I don't think we'll have Curtis next episode, like we said, but
yeah.
um looking forward to get him back. But yeah,
Yep.
that's pretty much it, I think.
Cool. Yeah. As always, please join the Discord. Well, we got more and more people joining, so we love
Yeah.
having chats about life, games, food, anything, shows. There's a lot of Arcane season 2 chat going on that
Oh
I'm
yeah.
ignoring. I'm ignoring right now. I'm gonna watch it.
Oh yeah. And then
Um,
there's two of us talking a lot about Dan to Dan. But
there you go.
gosh, it's so good. But
I'll have to
Fluid
watch
Arcade,
that.
it's
Um, yeah. Anyway, leave a comment. Let us know what you liked. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. And I guess we'll see you on episode 19 in 2 weeks.
all right.
All right. See you.
Grab your controllers, time for the show. Friends together, ready, set, go. Games on channel.